Funny. Hello everyone. Welcome to the stream, the only stream happening on Twitch right now, and therefore there's no excuse to leave at all. Except, of course, I will be joined by No Justice MTG any second. I am a silly Billy. Anyway, how are we all on this fine Sunday? Are we well? I hope so. It's Monster Raving, Kev. Oh, it's Monster... Oh, sorry, it's Monster Kev Racing. Sorry, I read that completely fucking wrong. Hello there, Mr. Peter Wood. Hi, folks. First time joining the stream instead of YouTube. Well, there you go. Welcome in, Mr. Peter Wood. And thank you for subscribing with Prime. Much fucking love to you. It's Skibbity Kevin. Yes, yes, yes. It is me. It's such a shit meme. And I know that makes me sound like an even older person than the young people already thought I was. But, like, fuck you, young people. Your memes are shite. I'm saying it, okay? Skibbity Toilet is a terrible meme. And anyone who disagrees can fuck off.
I came in for you to deliver some straight facts.
Exactly. Get better memes, young people.
True.
The old man yells at memes. Brilliant. Anyway,
I mean, it is true. It is true that millennials and Zoomers have way better memes than Gen Alpha.
Yeah,
it's just objective fact.
The Skibbity Toilet doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's nothing.
Exactly. But us millennials and Zoomers, we have the Skibbity guy doing like wobbling his belly around, right? If that isn't like an infinitely better meme using the term Skibbity, I don't know what is.
Literally so. You know what's not a good meme?
The Conservative Party?
Lee Anderson, specifically.
Oh, wow. Even worse than the Conservative Party.
Yeah. A former Conservative, yes.
And former Labour. Shows how thin the line is.
Almost like they're the same party. Crazy. Anyway, harmless enough looking picture. He went to the football. He's an MP from near Nottingham. So he went to Nottingham Forest to see them play. Perfectly fine.
Oh god, I hate that I have to support the same team as him.
Yeah, it is. It's grim. It's grim. I mean, look at it this way. Some people in my fine city have to support the same team as the future king. So, you know.
True.
Anyway. One person did have to point this out, though. Is that cum on his trousers?
Oh dear.
I mean, it looks a lot like he may have spunked up on himself.
Although, to be fair, one thing I was not expecting on my timeline was a Lee Anderson dick print. Thanks.
It's not the biggest bulge in the world, but it does show. It does show he does have a penis, so that's something, I guess.
It's drool from mouth breathing.
We can put that rumour to rest.
Hey,
like
hey,
a fucking action man. Sorry, go on.
Up lovely doing the true journalism no one else will. Very
Exactly.
Facts.
Absolutely. Look. You won't see this in the papers, and that's the real problem. Covering up for certain stains. Be it the current Prime Minister, who is a stain on the nation, or that spunk, which is a stain on Lee Anderson's trousers. Either way. I mean, I could have removed the picture from the screen by now. I could have done that. You will have noticed I've chosen not to do that. And that is a very deliberate choice on my part, and a bad one for everyone concerned, including myself. Anyway.
Not watch the number of viewers just immediately tank.
Well, no, this is the internet. You'll just get lots of perverts and it'll be fine. Anyway, talking of perverts, Laura Koonsberg.
I think so. I was actually going to say, I think today we should watch Trevor Phillips rather than Laura Koonsberg.
We can do if you want to. Either way, I'm good.
Someone in the Discord suggested because it's all just all the different Tory leadership candidates.
Yeah,
it's going to be like ultimate brain rot, like just competitions just to see how low in my estimation these people can go. Because my god, the absolute cavalcade of cunts that they have lined up to be Conservative Party leader.
And not just that, but we've got We've got 5 more fucking weeks of it. They're not deciding until November. They've got a fucking conference this week in my own hometown. Lovely, thanks. They could decide it there, but no, they're going to drag it out until fucking early November.
Are you trying to do your conference with nobody to lead you? That seems a bit weird.
It's very strange. That's from 7 days ago. Do they not have today's up? Jesus Christ, hang on a minute. I have to go onto the actual site like some sort of weirdo and look through their fucking videos. Very strange. They've got it chopped up to fuck with every different person.
Oh, but in the live tab, not the videos tab.
Oh, Jesus Christ, I fucking hate the world. Sunday morning with Trevor Phillips. There we go. Jesus. Okay. So, yeah, this is Tory Central, I guess. One thing, I don't know if they do have this, but on Laura Koonsberg, they did have Turf Queen interviewed. So I don't know if we want to watch that at some point later, maybe. I don't know.
Potentially.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think it's right. She's the kind of person I'd rather hear other people talk about
than actually hear her talk. Yeah. Although there is one telling moment where Laura Koonsberg asks if Keir Starmer has a problem with women, a question she never asked to the multiple philanderer who was nearly arrested for beating his now current wife, Boris Johnson. Laughed at his jokes. Didn't ask that question though.
No.
Also interesting, just on whilst we're on her, in her resignation letter, at no point did she mention anything to do with the transphobia stuff, which suggests that she doesn't have a problem with the Labour Party's current policy towards trans people, which is very telling.
Well, I think that's certain. The thing is, what's frustrating is it does seem to be that all that the press want to do is try and make it about the fact that she's transphobic, rather than the fact that her letter was a scathing criticism of Keir Starmer's time as leader of the Labour Party. It's really brutal. It's really scathing.
Yeah.
Which is, in all the right ways, actually. Honestly, we read it on stream and I was just like, she may be a transphobe, but she's certainly cooking this foal.
Oh, yeah, we should say Rosie Duffield is the person to whom we're referring there. When we say Turf Queen, that doesn't necessarily narrow it down enormously, yes. Rosie Duffield, who resigned from the Labour Party, and is probably going to join, I don't know, Reform or something?
Well, no, she banged on about how she was a democratic socialist, for all, if you can imagine such a thing, in her resignation there. I think if she'll go anywhere, if she goes to any established party, it'll be the SDP. So I reckon she'd likely to go with the SDP.
Yeah, might do. Yeah, that would make a certain amount of sense.
Either that, or if God really hates us, she'll join Kelly J. Keen's party of women, and I'll want to kill my in Minecraft.
God. No, you can't, because you'll just attract the same soupy attention, and you don't need that. No one needs the tomato drenching every now and then, you know. Anyway, from one Tory to another. Yes, Trevor Phillips interviewing I mean, they are awful. There's 4 of them still left in there, and it's, oh my god, they're gonna choose fucking Badenoch, aren't they?
I think it's going to be generic.
It might be Bobby J. It might be Bobby J. Either way, they're fucked. Like, the obvious choice for them was to not go, like, as extreme. But they've gone, no, make the 2 most extreme motherfuckers the frontrunners. Let's do that. Let's do it in the reverse order that would make any fucking sense.
It's been months. It's been over half a year since we found out about the Robert Jenrick Mickey Mouse mural painting over. I still can't get over it. I still can't get over the time that he painted over a mural for children because he thought it would be too welcoming, as if people crossing the channel to claim asylum, one of their pull factors was how comfortable their children felt in immigrant detention.
And not just that, but it speaks to just the levels of performative hatred and evil. Like, why would you even?
He's just evil.
Why would you even consider that? I would just think, oh, this. Actually, you know what? I wouldn't even think of it. I wouldn't even, if I walked into a detention centre as an inspection thing for, like, being foreign minister or whatever. I wouldn't even look at the mural and think anything. I would just walk straight past it. It wouldn't concern me in the slightest, because I think that would be a normal reaction of any human being, other than a child for whom it's there. Whereas he went, no, that looks too inviting. Paint over it, because I want children who have been scarred by the most horrific experiences in the entire world to feel less welcome. I don't know how to depict him. Like, I don't know how to depict a person as more evil than that. Was he also drinking kitten blood at the same time? I don't know.
Yeah, like, genuinely, that there must be, like, if you could put, like, genuine cartoon villains into the real world and get them to react to it, they'd go like, it's a bit far, mate. It's a bit much. Come on now. He's literally trying to performatively make children miserable. Like, you have to be a pantomime villain to do that.
And he's the bookie's favourite. I still think they're going to go with Badenoch, actually, but he's the bookie's favourite for now.
The thing is, I know from watching Kemi so much that her name's pronounced Badenoch, and I know full well she absolutely hates it when you call her Badenoch, because it means you can call her Bad Enoch. I know she hates that, so I'm going to keep calling her Bad Enoch to fight her.
I mean, fuck her, yeah. If she doesn't respect pronouns, I'm not going to respect her fucking surname. Bollocks to you. Simple.
Tom Tugendhat, speaking of other people on the Tory leadership contest.
Yeah, he still technically exists, yes.
He does, technically. He's a bit of a non-entity, but he tweeted out something like, God, just shows you the kind of person that Keir Starmer is like. It's just more corruption. I was like, like, compared to who? Yeah, exactly. And secondly, your party socially murdered hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people socially murdered by your government. You and Kid Starmer are peas in the pod. You're the same, mate. Yeah. I don't know what you're mad about. Keir Starmer coming in and finishing your job for you. You get to fucking put your feet up on the opposition benches. Have no work.
He's annoyed because it's stolen valor. That's what it is. Like, valor, he comes in. We've killed all of these fucking people, and Johnny Come Lately wants to come in and murder a few pensioners. It's not good enough.
Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Exactly. You wouldn't have even fucking gotten into the Theresa May cabinet, you bitch. Anyway.
Political lightweight, which is basically what Rosie Duffield called him in her letter.
True.
What was the exact phrase that she used where she specifically insulted him directly?
She called him a massive.
It's so funny.
She called him a massive dirty bitch. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, no, it was. I mean, it was quite a long letter, but yeah, it was for a resignation anyway. But yeah,
there was one very specific phrase that I honestly, How dare you take our longed-for victory, the electorate's sacred and precious trust, and throw it back at their individual faces and the faces of the dedicated and hard-working Labour MPs. The sleaze, nepotism, and apparent avarice are off the scale. I am so ashamed of what you and your inner circle have done to tarnish and humiliate our once proud party. And I'm just like, she's not wrong. She's not wrong at all.
Also, avarice, lovely word. Lovely word.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely.
Yeah. Tell Helena about... Oh, yeah, we've decided to call Keir the Keir leader. Like the dear leader. That's what we're
The
calling
Keir, but that's basically what the centrists are like about him.
Yeah, but I'm doing it ironically, so it's funny. Fact. Anyway, yeah, no, he's pretty awful. Anywho.
Yeah, the sentence also in the next paragraph was, "Why are you not showing even the slightest bit of embarrassment?" Which I think is really funny.
It is, but you kind of want to look at yourself and go, "Bitch, you should have been kicked out of his party."
Oh, I mean, true, of course, you should have been kicked out, but it just shows you that they spent ages placating her and trying to be as transphobic as possible. No, please, Rosie, please don't hate us, please don't leak negative stuff to the press. And she's like, yeah, fuck it, you can give it, accept all of it, and then throw it back in their face afterwards. Again, they are welcome to each other.
Oh, absolutely.
They're both awful, both terrible, and at least Rosie Duffield has at least principle to go. Yeah, maybe maybe kind of policy that makes trans people miserable is bad, right? But at the very least, she draws the line at not starving children.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm glad, Phil, that you entered on me saying massive dirty bitch. I'm glad. You missed. Look, be honest with you, right? Everyone who was here from the very start, the thing we showed at the start was worse than me saying that. Okay, I showed an MP's semen-stained trousers on TV, on live for everyone.
Allegedly semen-stained.
Oh, okay, I defy him to tell me, was he cooking eggs at the game and he got a bit of splashback? What exactly caused that staining in that specific area of... Look, come on now. Come on. Anyway, so count yourself lucky, Phil, that you arrived late. Anyway, the actual serious point about politics I was going to make. Firstly, don't try and placate TERFs, because there's nothing you can do besides literal genocide that will ever placate them. So just don't do that. And secondly, I have found a lot of Schadenfreude in the very same people who were happy to have Tories who crossed the floor and became Labour MPs, defected, and that were making the same argument. Well, you don't need to have a by-election just because you've changed party, etc., etc. Now saying the exact opposite because one of theirs has left. Shit, they only just elected a Labour MP. You should have to stand down and fight a by-election. Fuck off, you two-faced little shits.
Honestly, honest. But this whole thing has just been very funny. Again, I literally typed the sentence, is it possible to die of Schadenfreude? Just sitting here, watching the Starmer project fucking crumble to dust, incinerate itself. And again, it's so true. I think that they essentially they thrived. They kind of got visceral pleasure from fighting the left, and the left just kind of immediately capitulated, and then they've got what they want. They've got it in government, and they can't stop fighting, so now they're just fighting each other. And honestly, it's just funny.
Well,
it's just funny
they are fighting each other, and there's the increased pressure of government, of course, and indeed the increased scrutiny. Also, in terms of the left capitulating, there's no institutional support in the way that there is for the right. So, like, they're sort of pushing a very loosely piled collection of rocks, like it's gonna fall. But yeah, it's not just the right fighting each other. It's that the media have all of a sudden pretended that they've just noticed the very weaknesses that we have been pointing out for months, and indeed years.
Yeah.
Like the absolute foundations of jelly that are the Starmer project. Like, there's nothing to it. There's no fucking substance there. Like, literally, before the election, I couldn't have told you what their policies were going to be, because they didn't have any. And they don't know. They're making it up as they go along. Let's freeze pensioners. Having said we're going to stick with the 2019 plan to get rid of tuition fees, let's raise them by $1,500 a year. Even though there are literal clips of him during the election campaign saying that it's an unbearable cost for students. Like, motherfuckers, they have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
He's clicked himself. He's fucking clicked himself.
Basically, yeah. But at least Clegg was the fucking deputy and could kind of hide away from it a little bit. He's got to make day-to-day decisions and clearly has no grounding for them at all in any way. And he's not really even in control as well. And certainly not economically speaking. That's the kind of weird, dead-eyed freak monster that lives next door. That's the Chancellor, who's just deciding to make up weird, cruel, performative bullshit as well. Like, yeah, let's freeze pensioners. We never said we were going to do it, but let's fucking do it anyway. Bollocks to it. What do you want me to do? Tax a billionaire? Fuck off.
They said they were going to do it in 2014 as well. Like, they're trying to tell we had no choice but to do it, and they've been begging. They've been itching to do it for 10 years. They've been waiting,
Well, she has,
to stick it to the old people. It's so funny to me. It's so fun. You see Diane Abbott ripping into Jonathan Ashworth?
Yes. Oh, absolutely delightful. Her redemption arc has been delightful. She has been tearing into him.
She knows she's untouchable. She knows she's untouchable. It's funny. It's hilarious watching her shred Keir Starmer with one more pixelated image after the next.
Good. You know what? Again, look. Racism has come back to bite him in the arse. He wanted to get rid of her. He wanted to play the Tory game, and he wanted to get rid of her. And now, because of the backlash to that, because it was a little bit too obvious, she's now, like you say, untouchable. They can't get rid of her because the papers will fucking destroy him. Sorry. Which is odd for a leftist position to be in. But anyway, so now she can just say what the fuck she's always wanted to say, without fear of losing the whip. Lovely.
Literally on
Lovely
top. Again, there was a point of the ITV interview where she said, well, it was a case of who blinked first, and then they blinked, which is very funny to me.
Yeah, literally, she's like rubbing it in their face. It's like, yeah, I won, and now I can fucking destroy you. Bow down to me. I am 4 feet tall and 90 years old, but I fucking own you. Yeah, and that's quite nice. That's quite nice.
Honestly, I live for it. I'm just going to get a drink and we can watch this Trevor Phillips.
Indeed so. Hello there, everyone. If you're enjoying our ridiculous chat, you can obviously hit the follow button. That's gratis. You can subscribe to either channel. You can subscribe with Amazon Prime. You can give subs to the community. You can do bits messages. You can do what else can you do? We've both got Patreon, I believe. If you're on YouTube, hello there, YouTube arenas. You can like the stream. You can subscribe for free. You can become a member for 99 pence, which is cheaper than a can of piss / Red Stripe. Either one is cheaper. And you can do super chats as well. You can give memberships to the community. You can do all of these things. They're available to you. And
now is the best time to do. Is we're 2 days off the end of the month, so you got today and tomorrow to get your money in, so that Kev and I can get paid out in October.
Exactly. I mean, how am I going to afford like my 5th house if you don't give me money? That's the way I look at it. Look. My mansion in Jamaica doesn't pay for itself. You do.
We're in Birmingham with the blue team. Today,
See, don't be like that, you prick. Because I support the blue team in Birmingham, and now that makes me sound terrible. By the way, went 2-0 down, 1-3-2 Saturday. Fucking belting game of football. Let's go.
Did you watch? Speaking of other sports, did you see Sri Lanka crush New Zealand?
I did indeed, and I saw both our respective counties play out a terrible draw to survive, as well, which was nice in the county championship.
Excellent.
Yeah.
gather to lick their wounds after their worst electoral drubbing in decades.
Can you turn up a bit?
Some thought this would be a pretty miserable affair. Many of their big guns haven't even bothered to turn up. Rishi
Well,
Sunak...
I mean, that's pretty funny. Also, just to do the joke, some people thought it was going to be pretty miserable, and it was, because Pretty was very miserable. Boom! That's a Pretty Patel joke. You're very welcome.
Here today, but he won't be hanging around to watch the contest to succeed him. But after a Labour conference week that turned into a bit of a nightmare for Keir Starmer, what with the paid-for suits and the borrowed flats and being told by delegates not to scrap the winter fuel allowance...
Don't you fucking dare bury the lead. The real outcome from that, and the thing it will be remembered for, is one word, isn't it? Sausages.
True.
That's it. I mean, if you're not going to mention sausages, mate, you call yourself a journalist, you're having a laugh.
There's a gleam of hope in Tory eyes. They've also been cheered up by the Canterbury MP Rosie Duffield, who this morning announced that she'd walked out.
Yeah, again, just a quick one to Rosie. If all the Tories are cheering you on, that should tell you where you are.
The thing is, again, like she left because they won't oppose the Tory policies. Like she left, but she didn't like the Tory. Like she's out there because they like you. Again, the level of coverage of this is ridiculous.
No, it's
Like,
well, no,
the
it's no.
Tories glad that Rosie Duffield has left. Yeah, she left because they wouldn't scrap the 2-child benefit cap that George Osborne implemented.
No, but the point is that she's transphobic enough to be acceptable. That the Tory leadership campaigners can be like, oh, you know, she's awesome.
True,
yeah,
true.
that's what I mean. I'm not suggesting she has exactly the same policies as the Tory party. No,
It's
of
just
course not.
frustrating
Yeah.
the way in which they talk about this, the way in which they discuss our political things, as if just red team, blue team. Like the parties don't have like an internal ideology they're supposed to represent. Like just the level of like the fucking Z-tier level of analysis from our news media.
I did Fogel, who's my resident Austrian. We don't talk about a certain character from history from Austria. We don't. Anyway, but on that note,
Yeah, Hasselhoff is really something.
true. No, you mean Schwarzenegger?
Oh, Schwarzenegger. Hasselhoff is German, right?
Well, he's American, but he did single-handedly tear down the Berlin Wall, so good for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, but on that point, Nazis are looking like they're going to be the #1 party in Austria, which is a bit concerning, historically speaking. Just saying, lads. Maybe sort that shit out.
Of the Labour Party, accusing Starmer of being cruel, hypocritical and sleazy. To be fair, Conservative optimism isn't entirely delusional. Labour took less than 5 years after their worst defeat in more than 8 decades to turn things around and send the Tories...
By getting 500,000 fewer votes. Shut the fuck
yeah,
up.
they got... the Labour Party did nothing. Like, they literally stayed where they were, but I guess they shifted some votes around, rather than... They lost votes somewhere and gained votes in other places. But, like, the Tories fucking collapsed. They had their worst result in terms of vote share, total votes, and seats ever. Literally, like, they've never done this badly, ever in their history.
Yeah.
But there's no, like, how could they turn it around? Especially since the people who they lost are people who are never coming back. Either because they've already moved to reform, they're young people who are never going to vote for them anyway, or they're dead.
Yes. And many more of them are going to die this winter.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not suggesting that the policy from the Labour Party isn't going to be effective from their own perspective. Just, it's also monumentally evil, is the point.
Is it possible that with the right leader, the Tories could be back in contention next time round? Well...
No.
This morning, in a special edition of the programme, we're going to be talking to 4 MPs who all reckon that they've got what it takes. We'll see. I'll be joined by the Shadow Housing Secretary, often in the news for her spiky views on identity politics, Kemi Badenoch.
You fucking cock. You pronunciation cock. Embarrassing.
Shadow Home Secretary, who'd probably like
What's
you
funny
to know
about that
more
as well
about his time.
is that she's literally being announced as the fucking culture warrior loser. And I've mentioned this on Twitter, and I mentioned it here as well. I mentioned it on stream too. In that, like, they're obsessed. Actually, all of them, apart from Cleverly, seem to be obsessed with the culture war.
Because it
And
works. Within the Tory party, it's an electoral strategy that can make you leader.
Oh, 100%. But the thing, I think at least with like Tugendhat, I think she's probably just kind of playing to the crowd. But you know, we both know Kemi and Bobby J. They live and breathe it. They absolutely, especially Kemi. She really
Kemi is literally like, she is on the front line of the culture war.
She absolutely is, and the electorate could not give 2 shits.
Not a single shit given in the slightest.
Like, if you combine the number of people who say their biggest concerns are the NHS or the cost of living, that is more than every other single concern combined.
Yeah.
Including immigration in that as well. Like, immigration is third, but like a distant third, and everything else is like single figures.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about anything other than the economy.
I've told them this. Look, whether it's America or Britain or basically anywhere, whilst people might be quite transphobic, and there are a number of those people, nobody is voting for or against the transphobic policies of any particular individual. Because where a trans person takes a shit doesn't really affect people day to day. Whether they can afford to fucking heat their home or buy food for their children does.
Yep.
That's
Simple.
what matters to them.
Very, very simple. Exactly. And if politicians care, it makes them look out of touch, even to people who also care, because they have greater concerns. When clearly a posh politician doesn't have those greater concerns.
Yeah.
And it also makes them look out of touch because Kemi's basically fighting battles on Twitter, but in real life, and she looks insane. And I know this as someone who's also terminally online. That I know to not be terminally online when I'm in public, and she can't turn off the switch.
Yeah.
Just like basically every turf at this point, basically.
Well, yeah, because it takes over your brain. When I talk about it being like a virus, it is basically like a kind of mind virus. It takes over your entire being. Look at Graham Linehan, right?
It's the anti woke mind virus.
It is the anti-woke mind virus. He used to be a vaguely sensible sort of shitlib who wrote comedy, and very successfully so. And once he bought into the turf thing, in 5 years he was divorced, cheese graterless, and friendless.
And careerless.
And careerless, completely divorced. Like, he can't get work. Even though he's written genuinely big comedy shows. Father Ted, Totemic. Fucking the IT Crowd was a massive success. Still gets rerun on TV all the time. Probably his only fucking income, I imagine, right? And he can't find work anywhere. Not even writing for, like, some shithouse late night TV show. Nothing. Can't find work. Because no one wants his fucking stank on them. It tanks any program he would be associated with.
Yeah, literally, Hat Trick Productions bought themselves out of having to make his program. What the fuck was it called? Like Father Ted the Opera or something?
Yeah, they were going to do a musical opera based on Father Ted, and realised it would be such a waste of money that they bought out of having to do it. Yes.
Literally, they'd rather pay to not do it.
Yeah.
Which is very funny to me.
Yeah. Have you got anything else you don't want me to write, lads? Yeah. So I hear you're a transphobe now, Fahad. Anyway, right. So and that's what I mean, right? He went from being a successful, sort of well-regarded person in his field to a fucking loser posting memes of himself dressed as how he thinks a trans person exists online. And that's all he does every fucking day. J.K. Rowling, one of the most successful writers of modern times, now is still successful in terms of being rich and living in a castle, but sits in one room of that mouldy castle, tweeting about how trans people are the death of the Western civilization, because she's a lunatic who's been the mold, the brain rot, has taken over completely. And that's where Kemi Badenoch basically finds herself, I think, because she's a true believer. I agree with you that the Tom Tugendhat is obviously performative with it. To a degree, I think Bobby J, like, he's a racist, but I don't really think he gives that much of a fuck about trans people or the gay agenda or anything. But he'll play into it.
But the thing is, he's also a culture warrior, but he's a culture warrior, I think, about, like, ultra-nationalism. I think that's where his culture war is.
He's more of a he's more focused on the racism than the transphobia. Yeah. Whereas Kemi Badenoch is literally like Kelly J. Keane blacked up. Which, let's be honest, those pictures definitely exist, we just haven't seen them yet.
Him as Foreign Secretary, rather than his efforts to stop the boats, James Cleverly. The Shadow Security Minister, perhaps better known for his military record than his record in government, Tom Tugendhat.
That's not fair, because he's not known for anything. He's not known. He's
known for being the guy where people say, hang on, who's that?
Is that guy? Tim something? Yeah, that guy. Him.
And the former immigration minister, who seems to have reinvented himself as Mr. Tough Guy on migration, Robert Jenrick.
Because having been an immigration minister in a government accepting hundreds of thousands of more people than we'd ever had before, he then resigned at some point and now gets to pretend that he's hard on migration, when actually he's just racist. Brilliant.
Plus, with us throughout the show, the former mayor of the West...
Look at these creatures. What the fuck is this?
It turns out. The thing is, I know full well, all of the stats there, conservatives are more attractive. It's true. That is something that science actually shows you, that the conservatives are more attractive than liberals and leftists. Mostly because when you're attractive, you get shit for free. Yeah. So you end up getting higher up in the social hierarchy. You'd never know it looking at British conservatives.
Mm. No. I think it's just because we basically in Britain we're just a nation of spuds.
I mean, I think also just because a lot of British conservatism doesn't come out of money; it comes out of lineage. It comes
Yeah.
out of access. Well, of course, money is linked to lineage, but lineage is the key thing here. The
Yeah.
people who go to the same schools, right? And it's clear that the only reason Katie Balls is famous for any reason is because her parents paid for her through private school.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Like our rich people aren't good looking.
No, they really aren't.
No, we don't promote supermodels or something. Like we don't breed like good looking people. We breed like buck-toothed fucking 12 feet tall freaks who become the Duke of Marlborough. That's what we do.
It just does seem that what we have invited here is an heroin addict, a cue ball, and Katie Balls.
And Katie Balls, who is sat there with a dry martini, like just worrying about her career in the bar, and that's just a person.
I really shouldn't be
just a
mean to
person.
Andy Street. I actually think he's quite a nice guy. He wasn't a terrible mayor.
Fuck off.
Although you'll know better than I will.
Yeah, no, fuck off. Just fuck off. I'm just that. That is my political analysis of Andy Street. Fuck off.
Fuck off. I mean, he's a Tory, so he should fuck off.
Yeah.
But like, he seemed to be again just
Also, terrible tie.
maybe
I'm just going to mention the tie.
That's an awful tie. But maybe I'm just like.
For a Tory, he's not the worst.
Yeah,
but that's like
he seems
saying
to
for
genuinely care about people in a way that most Tories just seem to completely skip.
That's like saying I don't know, someone in the fucking COVID ward you'd most like to cuff on you. Like
True. It's not exactly a high bar.
No, not really.
Andy Street, the broadcaster and Conservative commentator Ian Dale, and the political editor of The Spectator, Katie Balls.
And of course we've got Americans going, that woman's name cannot be Katie Balls. Of course we've got that. Stop it. Stop it, Americans. That's not funny. Ed Balls was a well-respected member of the British cabinet as well. No relation. The balls are a well-known commodity
Political
in British
dynasty.
politics. I will not have you disrespecting our balls, alright? Stop it.
What? Excuse me, Vicky. Wait, Paul, Andy Street went out with fucking Michael Fabricant.
Yeah.
What the fuck? How did I not know this?
I thought that was a well-known thing. Well, I say well-known thing. They didn't publicise it, I don't think. But I thought that was
okay. Well, there you go.
a thing that people
Shows
were aware
how
of.
much I pay attention.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's not really relevant to anything. I mean, it's sort of interesting bit of gossip, but it's not like it didn't make him a better or worse MP, and it didn't make Street a better or worse mayor. Although, all right, is this a safe space? Can I be weird? Right.
Of course you can.
If I was going to fuck Michael Fabricant, I wouldn't know whether to pull his hair or not. Because I don't know if that's how it gets its power. Like if it sucks your soul out or something. I don't know. Would it detach and become... Would I then have to live with his hair?
He's a modern day Samson.
He gets all of his power from the hair. Amazing. Anyway, that weirdness aside... Fucking hell.
Good morning. Welcome to Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips. Let's start with our first leadership candidate, the Shadow Housing and Community Secretary, Kemi Badenoch. Ms. Badenoch, if you were leader of the Conservative Party this morning and a potential Prime Minister, what would you be saying to our allies, particularly the Israelis?
I would be congratulating Prime Minister Netanyahu. I think...
You are already... You can tell she's a monster. Already. I would be congratulating him on further extending his genocidal reach.
Absolutely. You know, he really has reached a personal best for number of children mutilated.
Honestly, record-breaking. Record-breaking.
It's interesting that Kemi thinks that legitimate surgery for people to transition gender is mutilation, yet the mass murder of children is absolutely fine.
Yeah, no, she should see some of the pictures I've seen from both the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and now into Lebanon, of children who have actually been mutilated. Limbless, lifeless, bloodied stumps everywhere. Yeah, that's actual mutilation, Kemi. You fucking evil bastard.
what they did was extraordinary. Israel is showing that it has moral clarity in dealing with its enemies and the enemies of the West as well. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization, and I think that being able to...
And literally a member of the government which we recognise as the government of Lebanon, with which we have diplomatic relations. Just saying.
To remove the leader of Hezbollah as they did.
If they're terrorists, why are we talking to them? I thought we didn't. I
to be
thought we
fair,
didn't negotiate with terrorists.
To be fair, Kevin, what she is doing is she's doing she is sticking closely to Conservative Party tradition of saying not to negotiate with terrorists and then negotiating with terrorists
lots
anyway.
Of terrorists, yeah. I always felt that would be really interesting if when what's his name, Ginger Bollocks, Prince, the American fucker, Harry. When he was in the army, lol. He was obviously never in any real danger, but had he been like crashed behind enemy lines and been taken, how the we don't negotiate with terrorists line would have been jettisoned straight away, and we'd have been selling our fucking literally Norfolk to pay for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Create more peace in the Middle East.
Does that mean that you are ready to give the Israelis a free pass? Pager bombs, airstrikes, all of the rest of it?
It's not about a free pass, but Israel does have a right to defend itself. It is a small country surrounded by a lot of people who don't like it.
It has nuclear weaponry and is backed by the biggest military on Earth. It's not a small country. Geographically, correct, small country. In terms of political power, it dwarfs everything around it. Shut the fuck up.
Exactly, and again, like it's just like, oh, it's not about giving free passes, but they have a right to defend themselves. Okay, but you're not going to criticize what they've done so far. So yeah, you are giving them a free pass.
Yeah, literally.
Your free pass is your free pass is they have a right to defend themselves, and they can break all the laws they want doing so because I won't criticize them when they do.
Indeed, yes. I mean, literally, it amazes me. After October the 7th, which does have to get mentioned, obviously, because we're talking about Israel, so we have to pretend that this is some sort of major factor in all of this when it isn't. The American military then sent part of its naval task force from the Mediterranean to defend Israel against a country that doesn't have a single boat. Like, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous. The idea that anything realistically could happen that would damage Israel without the Americans, like, nuking that entire fucking region. Or indeed, Israel nuking that region, because it could. It nonsense.
Because it has nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
That thing that it has.
Yeah. That thing that it has that has never been ever checked by a single IAEA inspector, ever. Even though we literally bombed and killed 1 million Iraqis because they wouldn't allow IAEA inspectors into, like, 2 facilities for 6 months. Yeah, but anyway, Israel's had nuclear weapons for decades, and no one's ever inspected them to see if they're even kept safe, let alone how many of them there are and where they're aimed. Anyway, they could destroy that region, and so realistically, I don't think the people of Jordan or Lebanon or anywhere else are a threat. Just saying.
Many of them have fled from those countries. Many Jewish people have fled from neighboring countries. Israel is their safe haven. And if we look at what happened on October 7th, we can see that they cannot be complacent. They have to do what they need to do to defend themselves and, quite frankly, to survive.
So no red lines for Israel?
Of course, there will be red lines. We have international law for that. But as far as I saw when I was Trade Secretary, those lines were not crossed.
Well, hang on, so it's okay to bomb a foreign country that hasn't attacked you, kill one of the political leaders of that country because you don't like them. That's actually fine, apparently. And, of course, killing thousands of civilians in the process as well. These are all legal under international law, are they?
You know what's super legal? Yeah, it's trying to starve a population deliberately.
Legal,
like
yes.
they've literally admitted there's meetings between Netanyahu and Blinken. The minutes of this meetings very specifically say that Netanyahu said, well, other members of the cabinet wanted to starve Gazans, so we cut off the food.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm being told apparently the Lebanese Navy has 69 vessels, and so that was who were they defending against. Okay, but I think Israel's own Navy could probably take care of that, to be honest. The US didn't need to send fucking warships. They were fine, actually.
And
like, when I say October the 7th wasn't a threat to Israel, I don't mean that Israelis weren't killed. I mean, it was not going to bring the Israeli state down. Israel as a concept is not going to end because of, like, a few hundred people getting killed. Obviously.
No.
Clear that the IDF and the Israeli government were doing everything they could to protect civilian lives. That doesn't mean that no civilian life would be lost. And of course, we understand that the Palestinian people in particular are suffering. This is very difficult for them. But we need to remember that the aggressor here is Hamas. That is what Israel is trying to destroy.
Yeah, true.
as well as Hezbollah, of
They've
course.
occupied
Alright, in the
Israel for
context-
50 years. Definitely 100% the aggressor.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that Israel's been occupying parts of their countries for God knows how long. Yeah. No.
It never
Totes.
happened. Did not a thing. I
Also-
don't know what they're talking about.
Interesting that now they've begun to occupy parts of another country again, the Greater Israel talk has started up. And that maps
Weird,
with
that.
weird Hebrew-sounding names for foreign towns have started appearing online. That's very strange. Clearly this is just about self-defence, though, and not at all about a much larger project of religious significance. No.
That for the Tory leadership, perhaps the first task is to work out what went wrong. Why did you lose? Looking back at the campaign, do
Clearly
you
they were
feel
too
that
nice to trans
actually
people.
You deserve to lose.
Well, I don't think that we deserved to win. People didn't understand what we stood for. I often tell people that we were talking rights.
We didn't deserve to win. No, we didn't deserve not to lose. Like, come on. Oh, God, these people.
And governing left. An example of that is increasing
Governing left. That's
all-
how
they all say this.
mental she is. That's how
They
mental she
literally all
is.
say this, right? As soon as they lost the election, there was some weirdo Tory MP who quit the party immediately upon losing, saying that they were like the SDP. And I'm like, you're insane. You're legitimately insane.
Yeah, that's mental. That's
Again, like private water, private rail, private mail, private energy, private buses, like privatization of the NHS, private infiltration into our schooling system. Like, what's left that's publicly owned in this country outside of some of the NHS and some of the schools? Like,
well, currently, Keir Starmer's being publicly owned, but that's a different matter.
true.
lots of prison sentences, but we didn't get round to building prison places for all sorts of reasons. And
Hang on a minute.
from the public's
Whoa,
perspective, it looked like...
whoa. You see, governing left is when you don't spend money on civic infrastructure.
Yes.
Are you insane? Again, this is just how brain broke. She doesn't even understand her own ideology.
No.
Idiot.
Well, because she's not really a conservative. She's just a kind of weird fascioid. Now, I know some people
Yeah.
don't see a difference there, and often, unfortunately, the difference can be, a little bit harder to perceive than would be ideal. But the point is that actual conservatism, like economic conservatism, is different than just, the gays are bad. Like, there's an actual underpinning economic philosophy behind it, which she doesn't understand or care for, frankly.
like we weren't delivering. We need to be able to show that we will do what we say and that we also say what we mean. That's what I want to bring to the contest. I have
So
cut
nothing.
through because
Yeah,
I
so
speak with
nothing.
conviction and clarity. The public want that. The public want to know what conservatism is about.
Well, we'll come back to the issue of your cut through and all that in a second, but you said that no one knew what you stood for. Let me put what I think might be the real problem here, which is that the public knew exactly what you stood for. Parties under Boris Johnson, market chaos under Liz Truss, and record immigration figures under Rishi Sunak. That's what the public read. They
That's partly it, but mostly partly. But most of what people realised was under every single one of these prime ministers, the biggest drop in living standards since the Napoleonic Wars.
Yes, that's
how
the
this is-
bigger issue, yeah.
This is the simple and most obvious answer as to why they lost. Living standards catastrophically fell off a cliff. That's it. End of discussion. Don't have to talk about anything else. Living standards fell.
People's
That's it.
lives got shitter.
Yep.
And ultimately, every election is something of a referendum on the sitting government and whether they've made people's lives better, or not necessarily, well, whether they've made people feel their lives are better or worse, depending on exactly how one judges that and the metric is involved and all the rest of it. But if people feel that things are moving in the right direction, they generally don't change government. They certainly don't do so in such a drastic fashion as this.
Yeah, exactly.
knew what you were about, and that's why they didn't vote for you.
I disagree. Of course, there will always be problems in any government. Keir Starmer has barely been in 100 days, and he's already mired in sleaze and accusations of corruption. He's lost a Labour MP. We will always have these things. Every Prime Minister,
Pause
you
again.
go back to John Major.
He's thrown away far more than that. What are you talking about? He's fucking gotten rid of 7 of them himself. The fact that one of them was walked away is next to nothing. What?
Yeah. What's interesting as well is that she says, well, they're having similar scandals over in the Labour Party. I guarantee, despite the fact, obviously, it's definitely taking the public's imagination, it's definitely capturing the public's imagination, all of this, the sleaze and corruption stories. And it's going to contribute to people's negative perceptions, right? But when it comes to the election next time round, it's exactly what I say. The singular test will be what has happened to people's living standards.
Yep.
That'll be the single test. And if living standards have increased, they probably won't lose. They might lose some seats. It might be a hung parliament, but they'll still be the largest party. They're not going to see the 20% kind of catastrophic drop that the Tories got unless living standards fall. Now, do I think living standards are going to be massively improved? No, I've already criticised the economics of the Labour Party. That's why I don't think that's going to happen. Well, they have slightly tweaked their fiscal rules now, so hopefully that might change. But that will be the proof. That's where that's the pudding that the proof shall be in.
Yes.
And would it be any worse than the drop in living standards under the Conservatives? Heavens no. Jesus, how could it possibly be worse? How could it possibly be worse? Unless they literally just start bulldozing hospitals for no reason.
Well, I mean, Israel are very good at that, so we could probably get them involved if that's a thing they're going to do. Just saying. Thank you, Mellow Maggot, for 5 gifted subs. Much love.
Banger.
Had them. But if you look at some of the examples that you gave on immigration, we tried and kept...
And failed.
Exactly.
Fucking wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. 2 words. Killed. Murder. Bullet shot to the back of the head. Execution style. Boom. Done.
That's what I mean by talking right and governing left, that we were not delivering. If we tell people that we're going to do something, we need to make sure that we do it.
But the problem is that the public saw all of these examples and they understood that actually you had all the big talk, but actually you didn't deliver. You didn't deliver on the economy, you didn't deliver on immigration, and actually you didn't deliver on integrity and good conduct in government.
I think the question to ask is, why didn't we deliver? It wasn't because we didn't want to. It is because we were not starting.
It's because we were shit. Yeah, it's not because we didn't want to, it's because we were shit. We were ineffective, we were incapable. So you should elect me and I will be capable this time?
She was in government.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the economy was shit. You were the business and trade secretary.
Yep.
It was your job to make the economy good outside of the Chancellor of the Exchequer. If anybody singularly can be blamed specifically for the failure of the administration, it's the Chancellor of the Exchequer and the business and trade secretary.
Yeah.
The economy was fucked because of your decisions.
It wasn't because we didn't want to make things better. It's because we were absolutely incapable. We were rubbish. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were incompetent and pathetic. Elect me is one hell of a pitch, you gotta say.
Principles. This is what I'm bringing to this campaign. It's how I'm different from the other candidates. I'm not standing, throwing out lots of new policy and saying, this time we'll do this. What I believe we need
I'm gonna try and do the same thing again. Genius. I don't think we should change in any way whatsoever. I think we should do the same thing that got us fucking murdered. She is fucking mental. Honestly,
really
I hope she
is.
gets elected because A, it will be the death of the Conservative Party, and B, the memes are going to be fucking off the charts. Come on, let's fucking go.
to do now is to earn the trust of the British people again. And that means starting with principles. What do we believe in? Personal responsibility. We haven't talked about those things as much. Freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of association, free markets. We've stopped talking.
You literally voted.
You did nothing but free markets.
Well,
what?
I just wanted to go back on the free speech thing for a second. You literally voted to make it illegal to protest.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Protest laws.
Yeah. You anti-protest laws, anti-trade union legislation, literally frothing at the mouth to get people thrown in jail for just stop oil stuff. By the way, on that, big news, people were thrown in jail this week for 2 years apiece for throwing soup on the glass outside of a Van Gogh painting.
Yeah, they tried to, like, on top
The
of
week
like,
after they gave a suspended sentence to the pederast.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean, like, it's just like freedom of speech. Like, you tried to ban universities from teaching courses you didn't like.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I guess if they wanted to sell those values to people, they definitely did fail.
Yeah.
They definitely failed.
Yeah.
About principles. That's what people buy into when they're voting for a political party, not just what latest managerial policy you might be throwing out.
Well, this is very interesting because actually you've already gotten onto ground which people associate with you. You were both the Secretary of State for Business and Trade and also the Minister for Equalities. Is it a matter of regret to you that hardly anybody remembers what your main job was because what you say on these other issues, identity politics and so on, drowned all that out?
Well, to be fair, she did go after Doctor Who. She's kind of lent into that thing. You can't say, well, it's unfortunate because she put so much stock in the trade and business thing that people just remember the transphobia. No, she leans into it. She actively wants to be known as the transphobic candidate. That's her pitch.
It's funny that Trevor Phillips is literally putting the point that I was making before, where it's just
Yeah.
like, well, people literally couldn't give a shit about you because anything you might have done on the economy is completely irrelevant because you don't care as much as anyone else cares about it.
Yeah.
All you care about is fucking cultural bullshit that literally everybody is sick of.
Yeah.
It certainly was the case that even a passing comment on equalities would get a front page news, and you sign trade deals, you deliver a transformation for steelworks in Port Talbot. It's a tiny little thing in at the bottom of the newspaper.
You threw £500,000 at Tata Steel. That's what you did. You didn't transform Port Talbot Steelworks. Tata Steel just came with the begging bowl, and you say, "Oh, there you go, mate.
Yeah,
it's £500,000."
And you just to kick the can along the road as well. Not even not to transform it. Literally just like, can this not be a problem until after the election, please? Basically.
Yeah. Very silly.
I can't help that. What I can say is that every aspect of my job, whether it was business secretary, whether it's trade secretary or equalities minister, I got stuff done. When things are broken, I fix them, and that's what I want to do with the party.
Well, actually, you bear some responsibility. I mean, and I'm complimenting you here that your capacity to attract public attention is pretty much unrivaled.
That's not I'm sorry, Trev, mate. TP, let's come on now. That's not a compliment. You are saying you are a clout-chasing media whore. That is what you're saying. You're not. That's not a compliment in any way whatsoever. You two, look at his little smirk. He knows exactly what's going on there. Phil, don't fucking pull that shite with us. Fuck's sake. I'm complimenting you. Honest, I am.
You said this morning in the Telegraph something which I think is going to attract some attention.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, well, indeed. You talked about, it's about immigration, and what you talk about is not the numbers, but the nature of immigration and immigrants. And you say, I am struck, for example, by the number of recent immigrants to the UK who hate Israel. That sentiment has no place here.
I hate Israel.
I mean, she seems to be essentially trying to say to people that you can only integrate into the UK society if you support Israel. And I'm like, mate, then like over half the country doesn't.
Yeah, most people don't like Israel, mate. Also, yeah, what was that thing about free speech you said 2 minutes ago? But apparently you can only have one opinion on a very contentious point of foreign policy, otherwise you can't come here. Like, fuck you, bitch.
Not good look, is it?
No,
Get some help.
really not. Thank you, Solly1 for resubscribing. Much feckin' love to you.
Which immigrants are we talking about?
Well,
Brown ones. She means brown ones.
people who come from countries where Israel is seen as an enemy. I remember growing up in Nigeria as a young child that people talked about Israel with a lot of positivity. What I didn't know is that in the northern part of the country, which was heavily
Yeah, you know that she grew up in the posh bit, in the rich bit, that bit.
Muslim, people spoke in a completely different way. And I will also remember 10 years ago when 300 girls were stolen from school and taken away by Islamist terrorists. It resonates with what happened on October 7th. And so I'm always shocked by the number of people who...
True, right. You know what's terrible? You know what's apparently Hamas and Boko Haram are Hamas now, by the way, chat.
Boko Haram, Hamas, Al Qaeda, yes.
Darth Vader.
All the
like,
same.
you
Yeah.
just fucking put all the evil villains together.
Yes, indeed so. So basically, is this her like weird shit British version of Trump's like we need to ban Muslims?
I mean, she's basically saying this. She's basically
Yeah.
saying that Muslims are bad. That Muslims can't integrate. Muslims are a
Yeah.
society within a society, like average racist shit. Which again is completely untrue. We have the best integration of any country in Europe. Really,
Yeah.
truly, that's what we do. We've had a really good success at this.
She's
So for her to
literally
say it's nonsense.
She's literally saying to Muslims, you need to condemn the hummus.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Honestly, make her... please, Tories, it would be so fucking funny. Please elect this absolute goon. This fool. This fucking idiot. This subhuman piece of trash.
who are unable to sympathize with those victims, people who are ripping down posters. I think that's extraordinary. Missing children's posters being ripped down.
One
because
person like
people
ripped up one person on like a video and suddenly
Also-
it's representative
and
of
also-
millions of people.
Right, but also, I don't like those posters either, because when you say release blah blah blah, are they in Rochester? Are they in fucking Tewkesbury? Or wherever the fuck this... No! What's the... It's like when fucking dickhead went to the place in South Wales and went, you need to release the hostages. They're not in fucking Swansea. They're in fucking Israel. Well, Israel/Palestine, whatever, right? They're in the Middle East, mate. Why are you putting up fucking posters here? You're just doing Zionist propaganda, and I don't fucking want that shit. Fuck off with it.
the country, I don't think that has any place here.
It's interesting, you know, you make a virtue of your plain speaking and so on, but you evidently mean, when you say the number of recent immigrants who hate Israel, you evidently mean Muslim immigrants. Why didn't you just say that?
Because it's not all Muslim immigrants. And this is what I don't do. I'm very careful when I speak. I've met many Muslim people who love Israel. I met
God, she's so careful when she speaks. I'd hate to see if she was slapdashed with her use of language. Good Lord.
them in the Middle East. When I went to Saudi, when I went to the UAE, you know, you look at the Abraham Accords, there are many people
Yeah,
in the Middle
rich
East
countries.
who want to support
Like I went to a petro state that gets loads of money from Israel, and they suddenly didn't care.
And also, she's talking to, you know, diplomats
Yeah.
who are hardly likely to go, okay, we've got a big, strong supporter of Israel coming in this week. Shall we put in an Islamist to talk to them? No, they're going to send, like, fucking, a person who's also going to say, yay, Israel, regardless of whether they believe it or not.
Yeah, true.
Like, it's their equivalent of when, like, you know, they send bloodthirsty evil bastards from the Middle East to come and meet the Queen, or the King now, I suppose, and we have to pretend like we don't know what they've been up to. It's that. It's their version of that. Because I assure you the Saudi people are not massive fans of Israel. Not that you'd know, because they're not allowed to have a fucking opinion.
True.
Way to go on your support of free speech internationally as well.
Israel. I remember reading, after this assassination of the Hezbollah leader, loads of people from Arab countries who were actually very pleased. That man caused chaos in Syria. So it is not all Muslims, but there are some, those who buy into Islamist ideology, political Islam, they do not like Israel. And we need to be able to distinguish between the two. That's why I don't just use
It's so
a word
tilting
that
again. She
brings
keeps
so-
saying this idea that the only people who dislike Israel are people who do so because they believe that they subscribe to a particular ideology with which Israel is bad. Like, no, they dislike the fact that Israel keeps fucking doing colonialism. That's it, right? They keep doing settler colonialism and stealing people's land and killing people's children and wiping out people's families and concreting people's water systems and burning down people's olive trees, and locking people in cages and taking people as prisoners in administrative detention with no charge and violating people's human rights and bombing shit,
Yeah.
killing journalists,
Not a
murdering paramedics.
Not a fan of any of these things.
No, but if you dislike any of those things, you're an Islamist, Kevin. That's
Yeah.
what you are.
Well,
You
I was
are
saying,
Hamas.
yeah, literally, they're doing the thing of like, if you oppose Israel's actions of like invading Lebanon, oh, you support terrorists then. Like, it's so nakedly obvious what's going on. It's no different than you're with us or against us. Axis of evil bullshit.
Yeah, exactly, Fedrin. Don't forget the IDF rape camps. Exactly. If you think the Israeli officers anally raping Palestinian detainees with hot rods up their arses, right? If you dislike that, you're an Islamist. That's the line that you've crossed there.
Yeah, I'm told that the Israeli army and government share values with us. I'd like to know what those are.
So many people into the group.
You also say in this article, we need to demand those who come here love this country. How would you know?
Again, I'm just going to say I don't love this country. It fucking disgusts me in so many ways.
If somebody like this can be a politically famous figure, then yeah, screw Britain.
Yeah. Also, hello, lesbian hot sauce. How are you? Now, that's not to say I don't want Britain to be better, but it's not out of love for the fucking place, because they're just lines on a map. I don't give a fuck. I
Yeah,
want
like
people's
make
lives to
Britain
be
not
better.
shit, and I'll like it.
Yeah,
It's not hard.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, James Holmes, with the 5 gifties. Much love, mate. Although I will just get rid of the alert box so I don't have to listen to that fucking noise 5 times. But thank you.
You think of reviving Norman Tebbett's cricket test?
No, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it.
Well, how would you know?
Well,
But that's still Norman Tebbit, still sat in the House of Lords for the Conservative Party. Being used as a totemic, like, this is how you do racism bad. Still in the party, still a member of the House of Lords. Still alive somehow, God. I'm talking to you, you prick.
it is you have to demand it. You have to demand it. If you don't ask people for something, then they're unlikely to give it. We can't just assume that people will come into the country and...
Sorry, just to address Dan's thing. He says, make Britain not shit again. There's the point behind that, actually, I think is worth exploring briefly. And I think I had this before when we were talking, when Christy and I were talking about the Democratic National Convention. In American politics, you do this thing where you pretend you're the best country ever, and it's always going to be that way. In Britain, you can't. Imagine if someone went on stage at one of these conferences and said Britain was the best country in the world. It would feel insulting, wouldn't it? It would feel like they're taking the fucking piss. Like, no, we're obviously not. And that's fine, by the way, because it's not 1850. We don't need to pretend to be the best at anything. We're not that. We are the residue of a once powerful country. It's fucking ridiculous. So, the idea that we could ever have make Britain great again, we're never going to be great again. That's fine, but we can still be okay. Make Britain okay again. Make Britain all right, and that is about the best you're going to get.
Make
and I'm
Britain
happy to pitch for
acceptable
that.
again.
Yeah, make Britain a tolerable place to live again. Okay, let's do that. Like that's fine actually. Like dream medium-sized is where I'm pitching us. You know.
and just naturally love it. Other countries demand it. When you move to other countries, they demand that you believe in the place. They demand that you commit to it. We are the ones who act as if our country is just a
Well, no, hang on. There's a difference between committing to it and loving it. I don't give a fuck if someone loves it. Are they going to broadly fit in okay and like live by the laws? Then cool. I don't give a fuck if they love it. What difference does it make? I don't care about thought crime for a start.
Oh God, just I guess I think what's frustrating is I feel like the concept of the nation state from like the 1900s just fucking completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
And there's these people who just buy into this kind of grand idea of strong nations that just people in an interconnected digital world in which things just are rapidly changing and demographics are being moved around and people are far more mobile. This isn't relevant to the future
Yeah.
generations. It really isn't.
Yeah, some dickheads 200 years ago drew some lines on a map, and I'm supposed to give a fuck.
Yeah.
But I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. Now, of course, in Britain's case, we're like an island, so like some of it's coastline and that. Okay, fine, whatever. But I also don't really give that much of a fuck about it being coastline either. Like people come and go. They always have and they always will.
and people can pass through. I don't believe that. This is my home, and I want to defend it.
But my same question, though, how would you know? I mean, and by the way, why would it matter to an employer whether his star engineer, who comes from Bangalore, loves Britain or not, as long as he does a good job?
Exactly.
That's the best way of showing that he likes Britain, to do a good job for us, isn't
Yes,
it?
but it is not the employer's job to control immigration. It is government's job, and it should matter to government and to government ministers. Obviously, it's not something...
Again, why? If they're being brought in for a specific economic reason, i.e. to be an engineer, and they're good at that, unless they're doing something genuinely horrific on top of that, what difference does it make to you?
Yeah,
Why do you care? You're bringing them in to be an engineer, not to be a stand-up member of their local community who's a guard. No, they're just a fucking person.
that you ask at the border and say, do you love the UK? It is something that you
And I'm sure they'll just say yes. And how do you get past that? Because people are capable of lying. You should know. You're a politician.
create as an expectation. This is how you drive culture. It's not through forms or through tests. It is through what the leaders say and do, and the legislation that we put in place to follow that up.
All right. One of the things that Conservative members and MPs will be looking at is the issue of character. Now, how can I put this?
This is going to be an
David
awkward question,
Tennant-
isn't it? This is going to be an awkward question.
No, not at all. You know, I'm very nice. David Tennant, Narendra Doris, former Post Office Chair Henry Staunton, just three of the many individuals whom you've exchanged angry words publicly. You evidently like a row, but what is it about you that provokes people?
I don't know. I guess it must be just being somebody who's very...
You lying bastard. I'm a small bean. I don't know what anyone's... I'm just a lovely person. Fuck off. You can't pitch yourself as a bitch and then be like, I don't know why people don't like me. Fuck off. It's
Well, there's a thing for it. There's a Jason Manford bit where he's just like, the people that he hates the most, and people I hate too, are people who are just always like, well, the thing about me is I always speak my mind, and I'm just like, yeah, that makes you a sociopath, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The rest of us, whenever we ever, like, rather than just saying everything out loud that comes into our brain like a fucking, like a text-to-speech algorithm, we get like, won't say that, might upset people.
Yeah. And, of course, you'll notice that the people who say it like it is and say it as they see it don't like it when you do the same to them.
Yeah, funny that.
Yeah. Not very happy to dish it out, not quite so happy to take it back in return.
forthright. I mean, what's interesting about all those three people is there I was, being nice, minding my own business, and then they came after me. But what I...
Yeah, that's all she was doing. You saw what she was doing, chat. Just minding her own business. She was just minding her own business, just doing nothing apart from trying to legislate trans people out of existence.
No,
and then mean David Tennant comes on and goes, how dare you legislate?
She's just like the Daleks, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because the Daleks are awesome, but they were minding their own business, just trying to exterminate some shit, and then David Tennant came along and started throwing accusations around. And she's just like them. She's just like the Daleks.
It's true.
Fact. A soulless, lifeless destruction machine. And the Daleks.
I will not do...
You weren't nice to David Tennant. You were not nice to Nadine Dorries.
Yeah, but he asked me to shut up. Why is it that people worry?
I'm not sure he asked you specifically, really. He just sort of said it. I don't think he was literally saying you can never speak again. He was just saying, like, don't be a hateful prick. Like,
The return of the sausage.
Oh, fucking hell, he's got me again.
I don't know why people
I
don't like me.
apologise. One
Also,
second.
maternity rights are unfair
What have you
for
got of him?
businesses.
Oh,
But I'm not
release the sausages.
2024.
I got released the sausages. I forgot that it was even fucking on. I forgot I'd put it up. That's honestly, that must be the 5th or 6th time in the last few days that's fucking killed me. I can't honestly, chat. I can't carry on with it. I'm gonna have to change it to like something, put like a fucking high value on it because it's nearly killed me a dozen times. I don't know why people don't like me. Also, maternity rights are unfair for businesses. Oh, we'll get to that. She hasn't even gotten to that bit yet. By the way, something she's already U-turned on. Thank you, Kieran, for nearly killing me. The Daleks are an analogue for fascism. I know, and that's sort of why I did the bit, really. Yeah.
About someone who talks back. They don't like it when women talk back. They don't like it when politicians talk back.
No, again, pretending that this is you talking back No, it isn't. It's you instigating. You are not the victim responding. You are the perpetrator. You are the offender, not the offendee. For fuck's sake.
I will talk back. I will not stand there and let people punch me. If you swing at me, I will swing back. But I don't look for fights.
Can I just ask you very quickly this question? You grew up in a country, Nigeria, where politics is pretty direct, even pugnacious.
It's
And ironically, less corrupt than in Britain. Just saying.
really brutal.
Yeah. Are you just too Nigerian for British politics?
I doubt that.
Whoa. I'm not happy with that question.
Bit weird.
Yeah. Like, I don't care that it's a black guy asking it. That's not a cool fucking thing to say.
No.
Yeah,
Not hot on that.
Yeah, that's actually really fucking bad. I do hope there were complaints about that, because that's just straight up bigotry right there. That's just xenophobia. Look, her Nigerianness is the only interesting / cool thing about her. And I mean that quite literally, other than maybe her hair, which is quite cool. But other than that, she's just an awful piece of shit.
A genuinely monstrous piece of shit.
Yeah. No, not good. Not good.
Nigerians tell me that I'm too British. I'm just Kemi, really. I'm something
I'm
that's
just
different
Kemi.
and unique. And that's why I stand out in this contest. And I think that's why the members like me.
Kevin Badenoch, thank you very much indeed. Badenoch, I should get this right.
Thank you.
Oh, well, there you go. He snuck us a cheeky one in there. Love it. I thought he was going to do the pronunciation cockpit again. But...
Again, it's just funny to me. Like, the funniest part of this interview is just how completely fucking either she's deliberately hiding it, or she's just completely oblivious to how much of a genuine arsehole she is, which would make her a sociopath rather than a narcissist or anything like that. In that most narcissists know that they are, but sociopaths have no idea. They just completely I just massively insulted loads of people and ruined people's lives, and people are mad at me. Why? I don't get it.
I'm convinced that anyone who wants to be in the kind of position she's looking to be, like she wants to become Prime Minister, you're probably mental as fuck. There's probably something a bit wrong with you. And that's, like, fine in a sense if you do a good job or if you're a decent person. But, yeah, that isn't. Thank you, Sozzled Snake, with 200 bits. Although I was prepared for the sausages this time, so it didn't get me. We're on a hype train. If you want to give me a heart attack, because I'll instantly forget about the sausages, trust me, you can do bits and subs and all the rest of it. And if we get to level 2 of the hype train, I will finger the twitching corpse of the Conservative Party.
Do it.
Fact.
Thank you. Well, if you fancy a daily dose of all things political, check out our Politics at Jack.
I know it shouldn't matter, but are these two the whitest looking people that have ever existed?
The fact that he's got the fact that I do honestly I have a soft spot for Sam Coates. I think he's kind of funny.
Don't think he's a bad person. I'm just saying, look at these two, and they just look like the most mid-gay couple I've ever seen.
It's true. They really, really do. That is no word of a lie. But again, you're a professional political commentator, and he's wearing the shirt unbuttoned over the t-shirt, like he's going to a school disco. And I'm like,
or he's going to a rock concert in 2003.
Yeah, he's got his Limp Bizkit tickets.
Yeah.
And just underneath the t-shirt, he's wearing the low-strung jeans with the wallet on the chain.
Yes, definite chain wearer, 100%. Possible patches very low down on the jeans as well. Like, too low down that no one's going to see them. They're just there for the aesthetic. You know, like it's it's part of the thing.
Jack and Sam's podcast. Our very own deputy political editor, Sam Coates, and Politico's Jack Blanchard tell you everything you need to know for the day ahead. And they do it in under 20 minutes, and all before 7:30 in the morning. Scan the QR code on your screen now, and you can listen and subscribe.
No, I won't do
wherever
that, actually.
And in this case, QR stands for queer, because they are a gay couple. I described it, okay? That's definitely true and not something I've made up and is totally not serious. Don't sue me, please.
You get your podcasts. In just a few moments, we'll be joined live by the Shadow Home Secretary and the former Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly. And after that...
Oh, the boring one. The boring bit. The serious candidate that isn't going to win. Ugh.
We'll speak to Tom Tugendhat, currently the Shadow Security Minister. And finally, we'll be hearing from Robert Jenrick, formerly the immigration minister, and he will complete our set of candidates this morning. I'm beginning to feel like I'm on a political version of Strictly. Well, let's see what our panel... And you can all choose which one of you is going to be Craig Revel Horwood.
Well, thank goodness it's not Love Island.
Let's see what the panel made of that. We're joined all morning by the former mayor of the West Midlands, Andy Street, the broadcaster and Conservative commentator Ian Dale, and the political editor of The Spectator,
That's a good point,
Katie
actually. I forgot
Ball.
about that. And what does Andy Street and Jonathan Ashworth all have in common?
Unelected freaks who keep appearing on my fucking TV screen.
Yeah, they fucking lost, didn't they?
Yeah.
They fucking lost.
Oh, although to be fair, Andy Street isn't quite as ubiquitous. Like, I feel like I desperately need Ashcroft to fuck off immediately. Like, he needs to stop appearing everywhere. It's like when in The Simpsons where fucking Mr. Burns buys all the TV stations so he can just appear on all of the shows to annoy Homer. It's that. I just flick over and he's fucking there again. I never saw it in the years he was in the Shadow Cabinet. I never saw him as much as when he lost and won't shut up about how it was definitely unfair that he lost.
Before we get into talking about Kemi Badenoch, let me ask you about the system by which this is being done. That some people think that bringing the members into it and stretching out the process and all that's been a mistake, and it should just be done by MPs. Ian Dale, what do you think?
I think that's quite difficult when you've only got 121 MPs. I mean, I get the sentiment.
That's a nice point. I didn't expect him to go in fucking boots up straight away. Studs down the back of the legs. Love it. There's not enough of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck them. Yeah.
But it's also very difficult to take away democracy from people. There would be an absolute outcry from
Even though they have tried. My God, they've tried. Both from their own party and with, like, fucking ID checks at the polls. They have really tried to ring-fence democracy as much as possible. But they do believe in freedom. You understand, of course. Yeah.
Conservative Party members if that happened. Personally, I would return it to MPs, but I don't think it's possible to do.
I think you can potentially see an argument when the Tory party is in government and they have to change leader, because we've seen some evidence of having a shorter circuit way of doing that. But I think when the party's in opposition, you know, you really do need a membership. You need people to go out on the doorstep. You need a base. And one of the problems the Tories have had is the centre is further and further away from the membership. But I don't think the answer of that is just cutting out the membership entirely. You've got to work out what the party is, stands for, potentially get more members. But yeah, I don't think that would quite work.
And Andy?
I'd have the final decision with MPs, but I'd make sure the members were instrumental in getting the shortlist. So almost the other way round to what we've got, because the members need to be behind their leader. But actually, I'm a huge believer that ultimately you elect MPs to make the really tough decisions. That's why I don't believe in referenda either.
OK.
Yep.
OK, let's start with you, Andy, on Kemi. What do you make of her interview as... I think I used the word pugnacious.
Well,
we saw that, didn't we?
But that's good, because you got some very straight answers. That first question you asked, the big question in the morning, she gave you a very direct answer. Maybe people watching on the telly who think, I don't agree with that, but there's a really important point there, because we were just chatting about one word so important in politics, authenticity. You get what you see with Kemi, and I do actually think that's one of her...
Yeah, but she's a lunatic. What you get is a lunatic. You know. Now, look, we didn't even get onto it because it's on the Laura Koonsberg one, but her literally saying that maternity leave cost employers too much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, that's how committed they are to the neoliberal bullcrap that literally everyone in this society completely despises, absolutely hates. They're just like, yeah, you know what our country needs more of? More things that makes life harder for genuine, normal working people.
But that went down like a lead balloon, so she's already U-turned on it. And put out a tweet saying, of course I do. Hang on, I'll pull it up. I've got it. Oh, hang on, that's the spunk. It's still on the screen there. I hadn't changed the thing around, so like, it was still there. Where is it? Hang on a minute. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So she put out a video on Twitter, because that's where she lives, saying, great day at conference, robust conversations. Of course maternity pay isn't excessive. No mother of 3 kids thinks that. But We must talk about the burden of excessive business regulation, otherwise we might as well be the Labour Party. Shut the fuck up. Literally shut the fuck up. Forever.
No one's going to vote for you. No
No.
one's going to vote for you if you do this bullshit.
Yeah.
The public does not like this.
But again,
There's a reason why David Cameron never talked about doing business deregulation at any point during any of his campaign stops, because people don't like it. They do it anyway, but they don't talk about it. Because...
yeah, of course not. You don't put the bad stuff in the shop window. You put all the nice fluffy. You put hug a hoodie in the window, and then you do the secret killing hundreds of thousands of people with austerity.
Yeah.
Whereas she's like, no, actually, we'd like to do the killing people thing, please. Which, like, that probably will work for the Tory party, but in a general election, like, this is the death of that party. I don't know what they thought they weren't being right wing enough about at the general election that made them lose. But there we go. Apparently, they seem to have taken that lesson. Okay.
Huge advantages.
Yes, I was quite disconcerted that she gave me a straight answer, Katie.
Very unusual.
Exactly. No, I think that is very Kemi Badenoch, and also near the end, saying, are you difficult? Because the one thing we keep hearing from MPs is some find her too blunt. Some love the fact that she is straight talking, but it means her big challenge at this conference is not so much the membership, but
straight talking. The bitch who was like, I don't know why people don't like me. And she's the straight talking one. Like, fuck off, man.
trying to say to the MP colleagues that she might have wronged or unintentionally offended in the past, that her authenticity is a good thing and they put her through. And I think that's the balancing act that she's not completely there yet on.
The story that is often said about her is that she doesn't really do the schmoozing, and she doesn't really, embrace her colleagues and so on. What do you think, Ian? Is it necessary, or is...
Well, I think if you look at who the people that are supporting her are, I think I'm right in saying that virtually every minister that's been part of her team is supporting her. Now, that, I think, does say something about how she gets on with people. But you're right, she has got a reputation for being quite abrasive, sometimes rude. But in a way, I mean, that can be an advantage in politics sometimes. I mean, Bill Clinton comes across as this, or came across as this sort of really nice guy, sort of everyone loved him.
And he was just a rapist. So,
You're trying to say that he was lying when he said he didn't have sex with that woman?
Oh, that wasn't even the rape I'm talking. That was consensual, albeit still, he was married. No, he might have also raped some person as well. So.
Excellent. Love the American politics. Great, brilliant, fantastic. Cheers.
He still got to speak at the DNC this year. He's basically the
reason...
reason...
yeah, to see that, yeah.
He's basically the reason that they can't attack Trump for being on the Epstein flight logs. Because it'd be very, very easy to turn around and go, do you want to explain why you've been chumming up with Bill Clinton, who's also on the flight logs?
It is always very funny watching American, Trump, MAGA hat people going, well, if you're gonna have to investigate Trump for being on the flight logs, then you're gonna have to send Clinton to prison. And I'm like, yep, yeah, here we are.
Your terms are agreeable.
Absolutely, 100%. Yes. Let's go. Yes. Let's fucking go.
I am an equal opportunities trebuchet of pederasts. Is one hell of a sentence. Let's go.
Sometimes, but actually, he had a bit of steel in him, and I see that in her.
Andy, let's deal with the substance. I mean, her big thing this morning is immigration. The way she dealt with it is quite interesting because, as we'll hear later when we hear from Robert Jenrick, most politicians talk about numbers and they talk about illegals. She is talking about, if you like, culture. Is this...
Yeah, she's getting more nakedly fascist about it.
Yeah.
Literally talking about not all cultures are of equal value or something. So just straight up fascism.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is that doesn't actually work with many members of the public.
No.
It really doesn't. Most members of the public just want to hear the immigrants are bad because they make it harder for the NHS appointment. A lot of them actually do probably have some kind of sympathy with this kind of cultural thing, but people will think that you're saying the quiet part out loud and they won't support you for it. Jenrick is much better when it comes to it with the immigration talk. Obviously, by better, I mean better for the Conservative Party. Obviously not for me. I think his immigration talk is monstrous, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, electorally, yes.
smart move, or is it one that could get her into tricky waters, for example, what she said about Muslims?
The answer's both. So I think it's a smart move because it plays very much to territory that she's confident on. We talked earlier on about, you know, almost her directness, her controversial nature and views on some things are her strength, and it moves her to that territory. But I'm not convinced it's actually contradictory to finding the right answer to this. I don't think there was much that you really heard when you pressed her around how this is really going to be applied. So smart, but not necessarily complete.
Do you think she set off another firecracker this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I think it will get people talking, and every time she makes an intervention, she does seem to, whether it's McDonald's or integration. But clearly, integration is one of the big strains when it comes to people's views on immigration. So it is a conversation that needs to be had in this contest.
It is a conversation that needs to be had, but not to the exclusion of everything else. And I think that's been, I think, one of the downsides of this, where all of the candidates seem to think that that is the one issue. It's overtaken Europe as the issue that's dividing the Conservative Party. And those of us that...
Yeah, but the divide is, should we just be really, really mean to them, or should we, like, fire them into the sun? Like, it's not like a pro or against. It's like, how evil should we be to them, is the divide.
Yeah.
Madcap, no, the conference is happening in Birmingham. My own home city, and they are not welcome here. All I'll say is last time they had one here was the infamous, well, I suppose lettuce conference, because it was the one conference that Liz Truss got to host as leader, and it didn't go well for them. That was the one where she was going on about the coalition of growth and how she definitely wasn't going to backtrack, and then immediately fired her chancellor like 2 days later. Brilliant.
The coalition of growth, otherwise known as the fact that they're a tumour.
Quite literally. Well, that is capitalism. It relies on perpetual growth and will eventually kill the host. Yeah.
Very pro-immigration sometimes find this sort of quite difficult to stomach. Now, I don't see that she said anything particularly controversial. Of course we want people who come to this country to love this country. Why do you think they come here, most of them, in the first place? Because they've chosen us, and we should actually be quite grateful for that. I don't know how you prove your love for the country. Okay. So I think, I mean, it's interesting.
Well, you can't. Essentially, you're trying to convict people of thought crime. Because they're obviously, if they know that the test is going to be, do you love the country, they'll just say yes. And how could you possibly prove otherwise? Do you think many, like, Syrians have got, like, a long history of anti-British posting on Twitter? No. They don't have fucking internet or electricity. No, you're just going to have... You're just going to have to take their word for it, and that doesn't mean anything, apparently. So, okay.
All right. Well, to keep up to date with the leadership battle and all the goings-on here at the Conservative Party conference, better make sure you can tune into the Politics Hub. And that'll be live from here in Birmingham for the next few days. That's with Sophie Ridge, weeknights, Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. here on Sky News. And there's much more of our political reporting online and on mobile on the Sky News app. In just a few moments, we'll be joined live by the Shadow Home Secretary and former Foreign Secretary James Cleverly. And after that, we'll speak to Tom Tugendhat, currently the Shadow Security Minister.
All right, we've been through this. Fuck's sake.
If you happen to be leader of the Conservative Party this morning, what would you be saying to our Israeli allies?
Well, I mean, I would say to them what I've said to them already when I was Foreign Secretary, when I met with President Herzog, when I met with Prime Minister Netanyahu, Defence Minister Gallant. I've said that you do have a right to defend yourself, absolutely. They are surrounded by people who would do them harm. But when they do so, they have to abide by international law.
And they haven't. They haven't done that, James.
Have they not? Have they not, Kevin?
I know, surprised Pikachu face, but yes, they definitely haven't, and again, are facing zero repercussions. So your nice words about how you should follow international law aren't backed up with anything. I wonder why they don't bother listening to you, James.
They have to be conscious of civilian casualties. They have to act with professionalism and restraint. So I will be consistent. I'm always consistent. What I said to them before is what I would say to them in the future.
Indeed. You said to me, actually, a couple of times in the last year that you want restraint and that there would be red lines for you. Have the Israelis crossed any red lines this week, do you think?
Hang on a minute. Why is that breaking news? James Cleverly says Israel has the right to defend itself. It's not breaking news. I think James Cleverly probably thinks, I don't know, water is wet as well. Isn't this something he's said a million fucking times? That's not breaking news, Sky.
Well, what we've got to remember is that they've had hundreds of rockets fired into civilian parts of Israel.
Has Israel done that to anyone else? Have they fired rockets into any civilian areas?
Have they mowed any lawns recently?
Interesting.
From southern Lebanon. And look, I am no longer, because we're in opposition, I am no longer able to access the detailed reporting that I did when I was Foreign Secretary, when I was Home Secretary. So it is.
But you don't need that to know whether the pager attacks and the strikes and so on might have crossed a red line.
No, Trevor, you do need to know. You do need to know. And it's easy to have a view. Everyone has a view. But when you're in a position of leadership,
what's your
the
view,
kind of positions that I have held and I aspire to hold in the future, you have to make your comments based on fact, not just on TV reporting, not just on social media, not just on gut instinct. Any idiot can do that. When you're in a position of genuine leadership, you have to base your comments and your decisions on the actual facts.
See what I mean? Like how
I no longer
as
have
all of the
access to that.
candidates, like James Cleverly seems like the one who's like a normal human being.
Vaguely, yeah.
He actually doesn't feel like either like a cartoon supervillain or like a total like robot.
True, which is why he's got no fucking chance.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
That detailed reporting, and I'm not going to speculate or guess about what exactly is going on.
When you say an idiot can do that, some of well, let's not say call anybody an idiot, but some of your colleagues and rivals have been pretty clear.
I mean, you can try and caveat it, but you've already said the bit, mate. Like, you call them idiots, so let's talk about your fellow candidates. You know, like, come on. You are calling them idiots by his measurement. And to be fair, he probably does think they're idiots. But he's about to lose to some idiots. So.
They think that it's okay.
Well,
they haven't had access to any secret information.
Well, as I said, I am used to having briefings from the head of our intelligence services, from the head of GCHQ in Cheltenham. I've got into the habit of basing my decisions on that detailed level of reporting. Right. I no longer have access to that, so I am going to, as I say, be a bit more restrained.
All right, now let's look back at the campaign that you fought in June and July. Same question that I'm asking all your...
Also, it's a bit of a piss take to say that literally unless you are the Home Secretary or Foreign Secretary and you get that reporting, your opinion is dog shit and you're an idiot.
We've seen what they've done. We know they've broken international law. In fact, he knows they've broken international law because their Foreign Secretary was told they were breaking international law and fucking covered it up.
True. But, like, I meant more specifically, he's calling the entire country idiots.
I mean...
Like, and he's not wrong in a lot of cases, but if you're going to try and become Prime Minister, not a great look.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays, calling your entire electorate idiots. Okay.
Colleagues, did the Conservatives actually deserve to lose, given the campaign?
Yeah, look, when the voters tell you something, you should listen. The British voters told us, not that they wanted a Labour government. In fact, in many instances, they told us they didn't want a Labour government. But what they did tell us is they wanted us out of office. And we have got to listen to that. We've got to respond to that. There's no point getting angry with the voters. We certainly shouldn't imply or say that they were wrong. Voters are never wrong. Sometimes politics is brutal, but it's...
No, you can say that, but I think they're wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah, they're very
like, you're an MP. That's wrong.
Beautiful. We got kicked out of office for a reason, and what we now should do is get our act together quickly, listen to what they told us properly, and then campaign once again on our core values to get back into office.
One of the things that you said, and in fact you said this to me a couple of weeks ago, the public stopped listening to you. You served under 5 Conservative Prime Ministers, May, Johnson, Truss, 4, May, Johnson, Truss, Sunak. Which one of them do you blame most?
Oh, look, there's no... Look, what I'm not going to do... It's
This is not a personality question.
Well,
but
ultimately it is.
But it tells us something about what you think the public didn't like. If we know which of these leaders you think was caused the public most trouble.
I'll tell you what the public told me they didn't like. They didn't like the constant infighting. They didn't like the bickering. They didn't like the fact that as soon as someone became Prime Minister, there were people within the party who set about removing them as Prime Minister. We didn't do that just once or twice. We did it over and over again. The British people told us that they wanted us to think about them, not to think about ourselves, to help deliver on their aspirations, rather than on our self-interest. So I don't have to second-guess what the voters want, because they told us over and over again, unambiguously. And we either listen and deal with it, or we're destined to spend more time in opposition.
Well, see, this is very interesting. You're telling me that what the voters didn't like was the squabbling and the infighting.
That's what they told me.
Well, did none of them say that actually they didn't like that, but what they disliked even more was that you spent 700 million of their hard-earned on a scheme sending people to Rwanda where nobody went. They didn't like the party gates.
Well, not just that, but a plan that you said was batshit and then backed. James.
Well, that's true, but again, just the important thing, Trevor, is the fucking material conditions.
Yeah, or just, well, to quote a rapist, it's the economy, stupid.
Yeah, literally. The biggest drop in living standards since the Napoleonic Wars.
Yeah.
That's probably more important than whether or not you went... Yeah,
or the NHS,
fucking
which
ambushed
is like...
by cake, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, people don't like that, and they're sort of viscerally angered by that, but that's a kind of temporary thing that you can get past. That's the thing I would remind the Labour Party right now, is that as much as their entire bit isn't, like, it's not good right now. Their comms game is shite. And this stuff with the sleaze is not good. But you're early enough in your reign, and you still have enough political capital, that if you actually implemented policies which makes people's lives better, you can get past this. You can absolutely get past this. Tony Blair launched an illegal war that people despised, but their lives got reasonably better. So they voted him back in for a third fucking term. You can get past this. Trust me, if you can get past the Iraq war, you can get past this. But you need to actually implement policies that aren't like freezing people to death and making students even poorer. Just a thought. Thank you, Andreas, with $2, who says, "Hey, Kev, happy Sunday, hope you're well." I am very well. I hope you are too. I'm here with No Justice, who is hopefully well as well. She sounds perky.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. I had a great day today. Just been to Nando's as well, so
Nice.
I'm full of chicken.
Nice. I was on adventures.
That's what all of your membership subs pay for.
Exactly, chicken. I was on adventures with my aunt's dog. When she goes to work, sometimes she drops her dog round so he's not on his own. And we went adventuring in the little creek. It was lovely.
In Partygate thing in number 10, and they didn't like the fact that Liz Truss destroyed your competence. It wasn't just the squabbling, it was what you actually did.
Even then, even when he rings up the economic thing of like Liz Truss destroyed the economy, he didn't even say the word economy or money or living standards. Destroyed your competence.
Yeah, it was the perception of the fact that they were seen to be good in government, not the fact that people's living standards fucking tanked.
Yeah, it's not that everyone's fucking mortgages went through the roof. No. Wasn't that at all. Wasn't that it literally led to the third Conservative government in 3 weeks or whatever the fuck it was? Like, no. No, it wasn't that. It was definitely the competence thing. Like, I already knew she was shit. The fucking Queen died. Like, she couldn't... That bitch was immortal, and Liz Truss was so bad she killed the Queen. I already knew the competence was gone. Boris Johnson was being booed. Was being booed by an audience of royalists. Yeah, it's over.
Sorry.
So the thing
I've asked a really important question.
Go for it.
What sides and sauce to have at Nando? So I have the chicken pitta always. They've got like a medium, like herby marinade at the moment on special, which I really like. So that's my marinade. And then for the sauce, I do a half and half mix of the lemon and herb with the garlic medium. I make like, so I get the macho peas as a side with peri chips. I pour out the macho peas onto the plate with the chips and the pita, and I fill the whole macho peas thing full of sauce, half and half garlic with the lemon and herb, because then you get all of the herbiness, that kind of strong flavor with the citrus that you get from the lemon, and then I literally dip my pita and my chips in like it's fucking soup.
That's the most autistic way I've ever heard eating chicken described, and I love it.
I need to have as much sauce as possible. Like people just dread like putting sauce on top of the thing. No, I need to have like a big bowl. I need to have like Nando's
this
sauce
is a thing that's been described before, isn't it? You've told people about this before.
I'm pretty sure I've told the
yeah. That sounded rehearsed. It sounded like you've been through this conversation before.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And on the entirely not political discussion, are we hoping for an awful new Tory leader or one that will hold Keir to account? Firstly, none of them are going to hold him to account. That's not really going to happen. So I'm hoping they elect the worst one, because the memes. And it will destroy 100%. The Tory party. So I'm on the Badenoch train. I mean, I am trying to also derail it, but that's not the point. Choo-choo.
The squabbling is it amplified the problems, and when you're in government you don't get everything right, and there are always bad headlines, but the infighting, the squabbling amplified the things that you've just mentioned and completely obscured things like furlough, like the fact that we'd kept unemployment low, like the fact that
Eat Out to Help Out killed tens of thousands of more people. And then that guy, you were a minister in his government. That thing? No? Okay.
We were pretty much the first country in the world to give full-throated support to Ukraine in a practical way with anti-tank missile systems and main battle tanks. So the point...
And we were also one of the first countries to throat Israel as well. I mean, full-throatedly support Israel as well. So, you know.
It is. Our infighting amplified the reasons why people were angry with us. And that is why, if you want to get back into government...
The things we got right were the reason that amplified the people... What the fuck are you talking? People didn't like us because we got stuff right. Is rubbish. You're a fucking knob. The fuck are you talking about?
Which I do. You have to address that first so that you can regain the trust of the voters, and they will listen to you when you set out policies. No one was listening, and it was our fault.
Let me ask you about something about you, and this is about your track record. Not all of your colleagues were impressed by your time at Foreign Secretary.
Sorry to pause, Andy, but I do have to answer questions from chat. Will this be Conservative MPs voting or party members voting? Well, the Conservative MPs have already whittled it down to the last 4. They decide basically the list that goes out, and now it's Conservative members that get to vote on it.
Yeah.
Unless we have another situation like with, what's her name, who basically attacked Theresa May for being childless and had to pull
Andrea Leadsom.
Yeah. Basically went, this barren womb cannot occupy Downing Street. And everyone went, that's really awful. What the fuck is wrong with you? And then she had to resign and she got in unopposed. Brilliant. Thanks.
Yeah.
A previous leader of your party, Ian Duncan Smith, said that you turned out to be, and I'm quoting here, a wet rag kissing China's backside.
Well, when
even he had to laugh at that.
That's not nice, is it?
No, look, Ian has, understandably, a very strong feeling towards China. He's been sanctioned by the China state. And when I went to Beijing and confronted the Chinese foreign minister, I said that the sanctions on him and others of my other colleagues should be lifted. Now, the point is, if you want to exert influence as a diplomat, you actually have to go to those countries. And it's not a favour.
But what you're saying is you're a bit of a wimp.
Well, he's wrong. I mean, the point is...
This is just bullying now. He says you're a dickhead and your mum's a slag. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Fight.
It.
No, you're never going to guess what you said about your nan. Oh!
You have to confront the people around the world that you disagree with. And in fact, it's most important that you do that directly, which is why I had direct contacts with the representatives of the Iranian state and representatives of the Russian state and representatives of the Belarusian state and representatives of the Chinese state. That is what foreign ministers do, and misunderstanding that role, I think, is what Ian's done there.
All right. Let me ask you about something in a way more personal, and it's a puzzle to me. You
More personal than you're a pathetic wimp. Okay, what next? I heard you piss yourself at night, you little bitch. Like, what the fuck? I heard you cry after sex. Like, what?
are by far and away the most senior of the four candidates, being Foreign Secretary, being Home Secretary. Polls say that you're actually the most popular with the public, even small margin, but still you're the most popular. Yet you got the joint fewest votes from your parliamentary colleagues.
You did get more personal.
What is it that they know about you that the public doesn't?
Well, I think it's
The people who've met you think you're a cunt, mate. I didn't think he was actually going to be able to get more personal, and he did. Oh, God, that's lovely.
I mean, they probably don't like him because he's more normal than they are.
Yeah, exactly. He reminds them of how normal people are, and they don't like it. It freaks them out.
It's true. Like,
Oh, God, it's like talking to a constituent. Ah!
Because at the end of the day, like, at least Cleverly has something that the public can relate to. Just like a bit of a history buff, plays Warhammer. Like, there are plenty of members of the public that I could get on with him. I could go for a brew with him. Like, no one would ever want to go near Robert Jenrick. Like,
No.
you'd think you'd catch something if you had to spend any amount of time in his presence.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd need jabs and all sorts before I even went within a mile of him.
Shower. A long, cold shower afterwards.
Yeah.
Wash the
shame. Wash the shame away.
Yeah.
the way round. What I have spent a lot of time doing over the last few years as one of the most regular communicators on behalf of the party is having to defend some difficult stuff. I haven't spent that time talking
Stuff you didn't
about...
agree with.
No, I haven't.
Like Rwanda, which you described, you may not have used the word bat shit, but you were not keen on it.
So
he definitely did. He definitely did say that, 100%.
I have been the face and voice of, as you say, 4 different prime ministers, and I have been a team player, which has meant I have had to promote other people's ideas.
Cuck. The word you're looking for is cuck.
So I was happy to do so. It's what you do as part of a team. You know, some of my colleagues.
So you said things you didn't really believe.
No, you keep saying that. I've never said that, Trevor. You keep saying that, and I disagree with you. The point I'm saying is, I have not spent that time promoting my own ideas. This leadership.
Honestly, we've watched 3. We've watched like actually it's only the second one we watched so far. The second one we've watched, but obviously we've watched so many of these conservative MPs, leadership candidates. It's just like after literally everything that the Labour Party have been absolutely monstered over in the press, I'm just like, there's no way the Tories are winning with these people. Like, honestly,
no, they can't. Like, I don't think the Labour Party are on course to do well at the next election, but no one looks at these freaks and thinks anything positive of them. They're going to lose more votes to Reform. I think the Lib Dems could mop up in a lot of areas because they're seen as kind of the best of a bad lot. The Greens should do well. We could end up just in a hung parliament situation, but the Tories almost certainly at the moment don't even look like they could be in second place.
No, I mean, they might not be.
Yeah.
They might not be at this point.
Genuinely.
There's not enough scrutiny of Reform UK.
There isn't yet, but I think, they've got 5 MPs. So you're not, and they're relatively new, and they're not really a political party, and besides Nigel Farage, no one really cares at the minute. When they get bigger, once you get sort of near the reins of power, the scrutiny goes through the roof. Or in the case of Keir Starmer, it's not until you become Prime Minister that the scrutiny even starts. But regardless, eventually it does, and I expect that. But I think they'll hoover up a lot of Tory votes at the next election because the Tories aren't really the Tories. So why would you bother? Why go for the obviously corrupt version of them when you can have the at least seemingly not as corrupt version? And at least Nigel Farage has some charisma, whereas Kemi Badenoch is just like a bad Enoch, just a bad fascist.
Campaign is about doing that, and the point is, you say I'm most popular with the general population. that really matters if you're trying to win an election.
Okay.
Polling also says I'm most likely to win voters back
Okay.
from other political parties. That really matters at the general election.
Just very, very briefly, it couldn't possibly be that they think that your propensity sometimes to tell off-colour jokes, Stockton-on-Tees, date rape and all that, could be a liability.
Can I just explain that for any Americans watching? Because he breezed past that with a nonchalance that is not fitting that subject at all. He said, was it Stockton-on-Tees was a shithole or something? He's like a place in the north of England.
Literally, somebody was brought up their own constituency. Someone was literally bringing up their own constituency, and from the front bench he said, because it's a shithole.
Yeah, amazing stuff. And then secondly, because he just said the word date rape and so on. Like that's just like a follow-on point. He joked about date raping his own wife. He joked about that. He joked about literally drugging and having sex with his own wife. In private, to be fair, and it wasn't really meant to be public, and it's like still bad though. Anyway, I just felt like he breezed past that with like just an air of like that. Just he couldn't give a fuck about it. Like that wasn't an issue that needed to be talked about. Like we dealt with the date rape stuff. Anyway, moving on. No, let's analyse that for a second, because there'll be people out there who don't know that. Just
Well, the British people who have had a chance to see me with all my faults and flaws, I am still the most popular candidate for them. And the point is, if we want to get back into government, we need to appeal to the British people, not just...
Right, true, but the thing you've got to bear in mind is you're not trying to win the British people at this moment. The Conservative Party hate the British people. They just do. They don't understand them, they're scared by them, they despise them, they're rabble. Saying this doesn't make you more popular amongst the Conservative Party. I know you think they care about electoralism and all the rest of it. They actually just care about power, and have seemed to have forgotten that elections are how you get power. But whatever.
Yeah.
Just to each other.
James Cleverly, thank you very much for your time this
Trevor,
morning.
thank you.
It is 9 o'clock. You're watching a special Sunday morning with Trevor Phillips, live from the Conservative Party conference. We're interviewing all of the leadership.
You've said this
hopefuls.
before. Shut the fuck up.
Let's turn to the big news of the weekend, that Israel has killed the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah. Iran has promised revenge.
And I enjoy the segue there was essentially... The segue was just, right, so, yeah, we've been speaking to some irrelevant bellends, right? Now the real story is this important war that's happening.
Well, to be fair, like, the Tories have gone, no one's watching this, us stabbing each other to death. Let's make that last 5 weeks longer. Yeah, no wonder no one's watching.
We need to maximise coverage of this, because otherwise people will forget us.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a sense of the situation on the ground
Yeah.
in the Middle East now.
100%.
I can speak to our special correspondent, Alex Crawford, who's live in
Look,
Beirut.
I genuinely
this
think
morning.
if you asked most people, or at least a fair chunk of people, who they would prefer as Tory leadership contest, they'd go, they're having a leadership contest.
Yeah.
They genuinely wouldn't know, because it's so fucking irrelevant.
They probably only recognise James Cleverly.
Yeah, and that's because, like, they go, is he health secretary or something? What's his name again? John? Something like that. That guy.
Yeah.
Alex,
I think we'll say,
what's the
isn't
mood
that the
there?
guy who said that Stockton-on-Tees was a shithole?
Wasn't that the date rape guy? Oh, I remember him. Yeah, okay.
Morning, Trevor.
Probably,
it's
most
definitely a
guys
mood
probably think
of,
it's a plus in this country.
well, I've just spoken to the emergency disaster management head, who called it a catastrophic humanitarian situation. We're outside an emergency cabinet meeting. There are now near daily emergency cabinet meetings by the Lebanese government. Out on the streets, there are people still sitting on street corners, sleeping on park benches, sleeping in their cars, because according to the emergency disaster head, the latest figures are now 1 million people who've been displaced from their homes. That's not just here in...
How many people have Israel now fucking depopulated from this area of the world, more broadly, in the last year? 2 million? More? What? Like, it's ridiculous. It's like the biggest natural disaster in human history, but except it's man-made. Madness.
In Beirut, and those
Also,
there is a
just come off my Twitter feed. I don't know if you've seen what the polls look like, but have you seen that?
I've met several Polish people. Yeah.
Have you seen that Texas might go under 4%? The gap between blue and red.
Yo, you know it's purple as fuck, yeah.
Yeah, the actual polling average is like 4.1%.
Which is basically
It's crazy.
margin of error, yeah. Pretty much. So yeah, it could absolutely go. And if the California influx carries on happening, it's 2 election cycles at most away. And if Texas goes, you can't win, Republicans. You can't.
Substantial number around the
Ted
capital,
Cruz
but
might lose.
also throughout the country.
Oh, that would be brilliant if Ted Cruz lost. Talking of cocks, as we were.
Hey.
So they're painting an extremely grim situation, with the cabinet ministers saying that they are struggling to keep on top of it. The agencies, the aid agencies, are struggling to keep on top of it.
Sir, that my raid intro noise is still funny. It just is. Hello, James from the
Gulag.
No, I changed it. I changed it to a bit from the Scottish COD players where it goes, "Get to fuck! I'm not playing with all these mutants." So hello there, James from the internet. Everyone going from the James from the internet. Oi, oi, mate.
Do it.
We're watching. Well, technically, we were watching stuff about the Tory leadership election, but at the moment they're talking about Beirut, Lebanon, and the
And if the
Israel.
British don't know that there's a Tory leadership election, the Americans definitely don't know that there's a Tory leadership election.
No, that is true. That is true.
Been at shelters where
Don't forget to hit the follow button, new peeps, and go over and hit the follow button for my my co-hostess with the co-hostess. No justice. That fuck's sake. No Justice MTG. The MTG stands for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Massive fan. Massive fan.
people which have sprung up over the last couple of nights, where they're patently struggling to cope with the huge wave of people who need their help. And those are the ones that just got to the shelters, Trevor.
So do you think that there is any possibility that we're going to be, or anybody's going to be able to stop the careering towards a hotter conflict right now?
America could stop it. They could. They have no interest to it, and they're not going to, but they could.
True.
I think at the moment it looks very, very unlikely, although the Lebanese government and the cabinet ministers are clearly trying to keep a mood of optimism, talking about how they're trying all diplomatic means. But we are constantly hearing Israeli drones over the capital. The Israeli Air Force are still bombing targets all over Lebanon, particularly on the southern border. We are seeing, and the signalling from the Israeli forces is that they very definitely have not ruled out a ground invasion. There's a build-up of troops on the...
So it's definitely going to happen then? Like, very obviously.
Southern Lebanese
Oh, shit.
border. We're hearing of more strikes this morning down in the southern city of Tyre. There's a huge humanitarian crisis unfolding here in the country, and the entire Hezbollah, or a huge group of the Hezbollah leadership, has been not only wiped out, the head of the Hezbollah militant group has been killed. Now, up until a few days ago, up until a few weeks ago, a US envoy was doing shuttling diplomacy to and fro, trying to mediate and promising that the red lines, and as Hezbollah saw those red lines which were painted out to them, was that the capital city wouldn't be badly hit and the leadership would not be taken out. Now, those who are being lined up to replace Hassan Nasrallah are far more strict, far more bellicose. Absolutely, the man who's lining up, who's probably going to take over, has been advocating hitting Tel Aviv from January. So the future...
Which suits the Zionists down to the ground. They
Yeah,
need
well, maybe.
they need extreme
Yes.
enemies a lot. They need that desperately. Because if there were peaceful people on the other side, it would look really bad if they continued to bomb them.
Maybe the IDF should stop using the citizens of Tel Aviv as human shields by having their head offices there. It's just a thought.
It is, certainly, yes.
And the likelihood of a peaceful outcome out of this is very, very slim. It looks as though it's going to get a whole lot worse.
Wow. Alex, thank you very much for that, and keep us posted and stay safe. Back to Conservative leadership race. So I can now speak to the former Security Minister, Tom Tugendhat. Good morning.
Morning, Trevor. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. If you were Conservative Party leader this morning, what would you be saying to our Israeli allies?
Well, I'd be saying to Iran that this is no time for escalation. This is no time.
He didn't know.
Yeah. Iran are the real people here who
But
really
also,
need to be told not
that's-
to escalate.
That's not even what I asked. Like, if you want to pivot to Iran afterwards because you're a fucking weirdo, fine. But, like, at least answer the point. Like, what would you say to Israel? So basically, what's your position on the Middle East right now? What's your position on what Israel is doing? And he didn't even bother. No, just straight away, Iran's bad, isn't it? Yeah, I also didn't ask what the fucking price of eggs was, you cunt. Tell me about Israel.
It's interesting. This is the guy with military background, right? So he would obviously be the one who would go, well, I can't actually say anything about Israel because I'd have to admit that I know full well that what they're doing is terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to completely deflect by talking about somebody who is also doing awful things, let's be real. Iran are not a perfect country by any stretch of the imagination, but at least they aren't mutilating children.
No, as far as we're aware. They're doing bad shit, but not that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, ultimately, he has the same kind of military precision as the British Armed Forces in that he's hit the wrong country again. So that's nice. That's nice.
To be reinforcing your militias in the region and to be threatening democracies and countries around the region. Because the truth is, we've seen countries like Jordan, like Israel, suffering under Iranian threats for many, many years. And we've seen countries like Syria and Lebanon destroyed by Iran's activities in the region over not...
Did our bombing help? Did we help when we bombed Syria? Or Libya? Or literally anything we've ever tried to do in recent past? No? Okay.
Just a few years, but actually over 2, 3, 4 decades. And we need to stand with the people of Syria, the people of Lebanon, and all of those others in the region to make sure that Iran's pernicious influence through its vicious militias, like Lebanese Hezbollah, one of the largest child trafficking and drug dealing gangs in the world, and defending people against them.
Yeah, I mean, we can be as tough as we like in words on Iran, but, since the end of the JCPOA...
So he's literally talking about Iran now. Why have you got... You're a fucking knob, Phillips. He asked you.
Of course he is.
He didn't ask. You asked a question specifically about Israel. He didn't. He virtually didn't touch on Israel at all. And now you've gone like a fucking pigeon who's seen the shiny thing or whatever. You've gone. Oh, he mentioned Iran. I'll talk about Iran. Iran isn't a fucking issue here. Iran. Well, it's not an issue. It's not. Well, yeah. Okay. I don't want to be.
It's literally not an issue.
I don't want to be too bowler hat about it. But like, it's not the issue at play here. Okay. It's not. It's not the point of it. It's anyway. Also, we're not selling fucking weapons to Iran, so, like, I don't know what the British government could be doing that would be more anti-Iran than it currently is.
Process of softening towards Iran. They haven't listened to us, so why would they listen to what you have to say now?
Well, we don't just have to be tough in words, we have to be tough in action. That's why I introduced the new National Security Act. That's why I took action to make sure that we were keeping journalists in this country safe from Iranian threats that we've seen. And you've heard the head of MI5 talking about having...
He's really posh, isn't he?
He is exceptionally posh. But also, I like that he's praying in the leader of MI5, the organisation with ruthless truth-telling at the very core of everything it does. You can definitely trust when someone from MI5 tells you a thing. 100%.
15 or so threats to life in this country because of what Iran is doing. We need to be absolutely clear. Iran is a pernicious and vicious threat, not just to the region, but also us in the United Kingdom. And standing with our allies in the region and countering those threats, whether they're manifested by Lebanese Hezbollah or whether they're manifested by the IRGC, is keeping the British people safe. And I will always lead this country to keep the British people safe.
I've been asking your rivals why they thought you lost in July. You've actually already talked about this. You've put it down to public disagreements amongst the party's senior figures and leaders. Do you really believe that this was mainly a problem of indiscipline in the ranks?
Well, I've gone further than that, Trevor, to be fair. I've also said that it was failure to deliver. We promised that migration would come down, it went up. We promised taxes would come down, it went up. And so, quite understandably, people have looked at us and asked us what
Talk
our
about
record...
living standards.
Yeah, he almost touched on a thing there, like, taxes going up, But for who, Chris Kamara? You know,
But also,
it's
like-
literally that's the point, is that you were taxing poorer people more and rich people less, and cutting
then-
public services. So
Even then, broadly in countries with higher taxation, even if it's higher taxation, or even if poorer people have a higher tax than they could be, that's still a better country for people on lower incomes, because they're usually, unless something's gone really wrong, net beneficiaries of the state in the way that rich people aren't. So even if the poorer people get taxed, they get back all of these different public services which should work properly. The issue, of course, is that they were taxing people higher than they usually would be under a conservative government, and then they were using that money to give to Michelle Mone and Hancock's mate down the pub.
yes, yeah. But that's the thing. I think we could have a situation where you could have reasonably low tax on the poorest, if you have a reasonable rate of tax on the richest, and we use our natural resources correctly, and actually invest in ways that financially aid the country, like, I don't know, building a high-speed rail line from London to Manchester. That would be a thing we could do, apparently.
Record is. And we weren't able to communicate our successful record on universal credit or the amazing
Successful.
Again, what's terrible about the last however many years? Oh yeah, of course, it's living standards. You know what, one of the really good successes of our time in government was when we made universal credit so shit and massively impacted the living standards. And again, the living standards, not just of people out of work, but the 40% of universal credit claimants who were in work at the time. Because you screwed up the labour market.
I mean, unless you're talking about the number of people you helped starve, I don't know that I would use the word success.
Exactly, unemployment was low, yet we still had crappy wages. We still had wage stagnation for an incredibly long time until 2023, when wages actually started rising commensurately.
They had the temerity to send the Chancellor to the Paralympics and then get annoyed when they booed him when he was murdering them.
They did so much supply-side labour market reform. They casualised the workforce so much. We all hate our jobs. We hate interacting with the job market. It's a miserable kind of non-economy of financiers and sinecures and service industry bullshit, and nothing else. Because all of the good industry has been stripped away. All of the unionisation has been stripped away. No one works to live anymore. They live to work.
True.
At this point.
Talking of unions as well. Did you see? Oh my God! It's on the Laura Koonsberg one. I saw the clip of Bobby J, Robert Jenrick, going on about he wants the Tory party to be the trade union for the British people.
I did hear about that.
Which is one of the dumbest. Those already exist, right? We literally already have them, and you've done everything you can to try and undermine and destroy them.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
Things on top of this as well. On top of this, he's saying. Obviously, I mentioned that 40% of universal credit claimants are in work, and that's a consequence of their policy on the labour market, because they tried to make the country as easy for employers as possible and as hardest for employees. Because, of course, this is the dichotomy under capitalism, in which capital wants to pay workers as little as possible, and these people represent capital. That's the basics of the economy under capitalism, and they made it so shit that wages were so bad and hours were so awful, and 0-hour contracts and casualized labor made it so you never got paid enough. So many people, 40% of those claim universal credit, also had a fucking job at the same time. Again, and that's his fault. That's his government's fault.
Yeah.
Results we've had in education, or the fantastic results that Andy Street has delivered here in Birmingham, or that Ben Houtram has delivered in...
Is that why he got voted out?
Yeah, I'll let you answer this one, Kev.
Yeah, is that why he got fucking voted out, you prick? Okay, cool story.
Teesside, because of infighting, because, forgive me, but the focus of the media, quite understandably, has been on that where we've drawn attention, and we've drawn attention to the infighting, not to the success.
Yeah, but
so the combination
come on, Tom!
He's doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing that we just heard from James Cleverly. People were really annoyed because we were so good. No, they weren't. People didn't like the things you just mentioned, actually.
I think it's, first of all, the stats about school successes are kind of fudged. It's a little bit fudged. Depends on which kind of metrics that you use. But the standards of how good the readers are doesn't help when the school roofs are collapsing because you cut all of the renovation projects for our schools and the public sphere is entirely collapsing because of your failure to invest. We had to get kids out of school immediately as soon as term started because there were fears that school roofs might actually fucking collapse, Tom. And on top of that, again, still failing to mention the biggest drop in living standards since the Napoleonic Wars. That's how long ago you have to go back in time.
And we got to invade France to do that. Ah!
Genuinely, like, can they again? And somebody point this out in chat. It's because they don't live in the real world.
Yeah.
They just don't live in the world in which they have to care about happens to regular living standards because they live in the lap of luxury, always have and always will. And that's why they don't ever interact with people who are at the sharp end of the failure on the economy. They look at a bunch of numbers on a graph. They say, oh, well, inflation is coming down and also GDP is slightly increasing very slowly. That means it's fine. When even though the GDP is only increasing because people are doing financial transactions, just bunging like bonds between each other and making some out of transaction increasing GDP for nothing and creating no value, or house prices are rising. That's it. That's where the growth is coming from in our emaciated and stripped back non-economy of based entirely on air at this point and has been for the past 45 years.
Exactly. It's gotten even worse now because there are literally 0-hour contracts and fucking gig economy jobs. That's all that's available.
Yep.
It's not that's not an economy. That's a joke. That's a farce.
It is a joke. It's absolutely.
You can't live on that. Joke. You can't live in that way.
And they think that they should get re-elected. They think they should be re-elected after the biggest drop in living standards since the Napoleonic Wars, off the back of the fact that, well, we did some things on universal credit, which, again, as I mentioned before, goes alongside the fact that this is people in work claiming this shit. We've got good test scores, which only if you take like one set of statistics in. Like with you give sincerity, you treat one set of statistics as if they're right, and other analysis may prove different. Whilst the schools collapse, and that's it. That's his successful wins from 5 years of conservative governance, from 14 years of conservative governance. We were shit to poor people, and kids can read good in collapsing schools, whilst everybody's living standards have collapsed everywhere else apart from in the banking sector. Because the rich, they're doing fine. More billionaires than we've ever had. Absolutely laughing their way to the bank. Bankers' bonuses now uncapped. They can go rollick around as much as they want in the city, having their little fucking expensive breakfasts and cafe lattes from Pret a Manger. They don't have to fucking care, do they? No. Because that's the real economy as far as Tom's concerned. People who are up in, say, I don't know, Ashfield, who've been happily propagandized to that it's immigrants' fault, also hate them because they failed immigration too. Yep. So they're now swanning off to vote for the fascist party. Brilliant, love it. Great work, Tom. Great work, Conservative government. And they can't even admit it, even to themselves.
Yeah. Well, you know, if they told the truth at any point, their world would collapse. The world would crumble. Like the schools that they failed to invest in. Oh, anyway, if you want us not to be poor, if you want to improve our living standards, you can like and subscribe. You can do bits messages. 200 bitty bits or more gets you a text to speech. On my end, 100 bits on No Justice's end. And if you do 200 bits, you also get to scare the shit out of me with releasing the sausages, which I keep fucking forgetting about because I've got the memory of a goldfish. Yes, if you're on YouTube, you can become a member for as little as 99 pence, or indeed you can do super chats, which will be read out. And you can give memberships to the community as well. Good for the algorithms.
And you can become a patron as well on Patreon.
You can indeed do that. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. And on top of all of this as well, he also seems to think that the only thing that mattered was the fact that they were divided in government. Do you think that regular people working normal jobs were paying attention or caring about whether or not the ERG were properly voting on this motion on this particular day? They made you look disunited. No, come off it. No, people just care about the material conditions, right?
No, they care about whether James Cleverly was briefing against the Chancellor. Clearly. That's the only thing that people were talking about on building sites or in the office, all right? The water cooler talk was who's been leaking to the papers again. Come on now.
Actually, that's a really good summation from Ben there about their catastrophic failure governance. Tories believe in the small state except for pensioners who vote for them, deregulation except for the planning sector for the middle class homeowners who vote for them, and low taxes except for the young people who will never vote for them. Very true.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, I mean, we already know this from Rishi Sunak. They've been diverting money from areas of high need to areas of low need, but low need where they vote.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
Literally transferring money from deprived urban areas to Royal Tunbridge Wells, which apparently needs it because it's so shit that even Ian Dale doesn't want to go there.
True. Although, did you see Nigel Farage tweeting out a picture of him in Clacton? And I was like, normal MPs don't need to prove they've been home. Like, that's... I assume they spend their weekends there at least, you know? Okay. Anyway. Although, talking of people who don't live in their constituency, Rosie Duffield lives in Wales. Just saying.
Indeed. Like, in her letter, she says, I could never look my constituents in the eye. Yeah, of course you can't, because you live in a different fucking country.
Yeah, when you're 200 miles away, yeah, it's a bit difficult. That is true. Dickhead. Anyway, for those who don't know, she's from Canterbury in Kent. So it's literally like, it's about 200 miles. Anyway, yes, Tom Tugendhat. Hang on, no, I had a thing, didn't I? Noises happened. Thank you, James Holmes, for subscribing for 3 months. Much love. Or becoming a member, I should say.
But the public are not dimwits. They can understand that their political figures might argue. But
I don't know, man. I think they are dimwits. I'm just putting it out there, okay?
are you seriously saying that what they were really fooled by was the appearance of squabbling, but they didn't pay attention to Partygate? They didn't pay attention to the Trust budget. They didn't pay attention to the record levels of legal and illegal migration, and that wasn't what they voted about?
Trevor, I mentioned migration in my round.
Well, to be fair, I think some of them did vote about immigration.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's fine to pull it up, especially at the Conservative conference when it's clear that this is an issue.
Yeah.
But when even the only touching on the economy that he goes with is just the Trust mini budget, and that affected, like, specifically people with mortgages and people with private pensions and expensive private pensions, of that, like endowment pensions, rather than like defined contribution pension schemes. Like there are people with expensive retirement accounts and expensive houses. Sure, it's bad for them. It's definitely bad for them. But is it the end of the world? It's certainly not the end of the world for
I think you're being
who don't have mortgages.
I think you're being a little churlish on that point, just on the basis that it, in not direct ways, it affected virtually everybody, in the sense that it took out billions of pounds from the economy, which everyone kind of gets affected in more indirect ways by even relatively small economic pushes and pulls. So I think, whilst yes, it isn't the key factor in any of this, the Truss sort of damaging the economy thing, I think, did have an effect on everyday people, and of course it's the implied effect. The fact that the media pushed it so much and it was so tumultuous that it brought their government down before the fucking lettuce rotted definitely has like an impact on how people think about this. So if the question is, why did people not vote for us? It doesn't even necessarily matter what the reality of the concrete conditions are. It's what people perceive the concrete conditions to be.
I think that's fair. I just think that I wish that the big problem I have is that it makes it sound like the only economic failure of the Conservative government was just this one Liz Truss blip that was then over with after 30 days.
Yeah.
When actually the reality is the reason why the economy is in the shit is because of David Cameron and George Osborne. Like, these are the real wreckers.
Yeah.
Liz Truss happened and it was obviously bad for everybody. But very specifically, the people who destroyed the economy and hollowed it out from the inside was David Cameron. It was David Cameron and George Osborne is the singular person to blame for all of this. Also, welcome to Loner Box viewers. Please subscribe to my channel if you like UK politics and socialism.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about on this channel.
Yeah.
I'm also with Kevin Logan as well. You should go and follow him as well.
Oi. But if we ever saw a journalist in the kind of position that that Phillips is in, saying like, oh yeah, the reason that people didn't like you is because you were murdering them for 15 years, you pricks, that would be the last time we ever saw them.
I mean,
they would be unemployable.
But the issue, of course, is that I think you're right. There were obviously plenty of, extra effects from the Liz Truss budget that weren't immediate. That was always going to be damaging to the economy. I think that's true. I think that is very true. And regular people have private pensions, regular people have mortgages, and this was certainly going to be something that was going to be a massive effect on people. In fact, well, literally, the government had to spend huge amounts of new money, had to essentially print new money, create new money to bail out pension funds in an emergency quantitative easing package. And you know what? Like, it is going to have plenty of knock-on effects. But the reason why people are describing Liz Truss's mini budget as quote unquote crashing the economy rather than talking about George Osborne hollowing out the economy is because when George Osborne hollowed out the economy, it affected poor people. And the biggest immediate impact of the mini budget was homeowners and private pension holders, who are the absolute bedrock of the swing vote of this country. And of course, people who journalists know. It's people who journalists care about.
People who journalists know, people who are rich enough to own stakes in companies that affect people, like Phillips. Yeah, those people are in service of a very small group of people in the country who are predominantly over the age of 60.
Or between the ages of 50 and 70, because like mortgage holders really spike amongst 50 to 70 group. It's why, actually, if you look at the biggest demographic of people who changed their vote from 2019 to 2024, it's people who are housing tenure is currently paying a mortgage. People who are already own occupiers, who already own the home and have had their mortgage paid off, they mostly stuck around with the Conservative Party. They're already claiming their pension. They don't have to care about losing pension provision because they're going to be dead probably pretty soon. And they've already paid for their house, so they don't have to care about mortgage rates. People who are about to get a mortgage are already in like private rented accommodation, and George Osborne and Theresa Villiers saw to why the housing sector was screwed up, because they did quantitative easing that pushed up house prices for people already existing homeowners, but people who are going to get on the ladder are going to have a hard time clawing together a deposit. And Theresa Villiers constricted the housing supply at a time when they were increasing the money supply. Like this was always going to lead in end in tragedy for people who are actually trying to get onto the housing ladder rather than protecting a cosseted generation of existing homeowners, where they specifically tried to manipulate low interest rates through austerity to keep these people's mortgage payments low so that they continued voting Conservative, as why Miliband lost. So there is just this kind of whirlwind of things that meant that these group of people kept voting Conservative until Liz Truss happened. Liz Truss happened, and then these people massively swing towards Labour, and that is basically the reason why the Conservatives lost the election. Let's be real.
Pretty much.
I agree, absolutely. And all of those issues come together and point to a party that had lost the trust of the British people. We need to restore trust. And the way we restore trust is by ending the culture of sleaze that sadly we've seen now infecting the Labour Party. And we need to make sure that we're...
When you say infecting the Labour Party, do you mean you infected them? Like, or is it just a thing that all politicians do, seemingly? Or most of them?
It's pretty much they have infected them, because it's weird. Isn't it weird, chat? Isn't it weird how these corruption stories of millionaires being able to buy policy from the Labour Party, isn't that weird how that only started in 2020? It's really weird.
Well, it's clearly that the media were in the pocket of Big Corbyn, hiding all of his billionaire backers. Honestly, they gave him such an easy ride. Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Bringing back the trust that British people can
to new people in from the raid. I don't mean that. I'm doing a joke.
Yeah, it's facetious, but it is funny seeing all the people, even Siobhan McDonough, out here saying, "Oh, this is the right wing press trying to smear the Labour Party." I'm like, fuck off. Your gang in the Labour Party were literally conspiring with the media to try and get like unfavourable coverage of Jeremy Corbyn, specifically because you wanted him to lose the election.
Yeah, literally, when one of your own MPs said it was the worst day of their life when you didn't get wiped out in 2017, because it meant he was going to continue as leader. When old what's her name? Phillips, not this Phillips, different one, no relation.
Jess Phillips.
Yes, Jess Phillips was literally laughing. Like, I'm sorry, you don't get to play this card. You were against the Labour Party when it suited you, and now that they're the Tory party, you're happy with them.
Yeah, literally, there's a video you can see of Lucy Powell and Stephen Kinnock like looking on apprehensively, looking at an exit poll that said they'd gained seats and taken a majority off of Theresa May. It's really stark just how miserable these people were. And of course, they said that it was the worst in the WhatsApp messages and the leaked report.
Yeah.
Turns out, right, the leaked report was 100% true. Who would have thunk it?
Absolutely. And of course, revealed today, not that it was any surprise at all, but that Labour shadow ministers had conspired with water companies to water down and eventually scrap water nationalisation plans.
They had used a paper that had been commissioned by the private water companies.
Yeah, crazy that, isn't it? I've got the...
And at the same time, we had fucking Will Hutton in meetings with the CEO of Severn Trent Water to try and construct some policy platform of this kind of public service companies bullshit against try and stop them being nationalised. I'm like, it's obvious, just nationalise them. Jesus Christ. We're the only country in the world that has a fully privatised water system. Even Pinochet's Chile didn't go this far.
Labour used economically illiterate analysis paid for by water companies to argue against nationalisation as Environment Secretary Steve Reed accepted £2,000 in tickets and hospitality for a Chelsea game from buses linked to Northumbrian Water. Fantastic, thanks guys. They're all in one big, rich, corrupt club and they don't care if you die of fucking cholera.
But no, it's fine. This all started, this is just them picking it up from the Conservative Party.
Yeah, no, it's just...
I mean, it's nice. Has been very nice of the Conservative Party members and MPs to admit that it's Labour also being corrupt now. They're just saying, yeah, they're now as bad as us. Like the Nadeem Sahawi moment on Question Time was so fucking funny.
Yeah, that was good.
It was so funny. It was just like, yeah, you were promising change. Yeah, from what? Promising change from you. You were the bad people. You were doing the bad thing. Also, thank you, Jack, for the 20 gifted, and Curtis for the $5 Canadian.
Nice.
Just want to ask if the UK public finances are in a good shape. I mean, it's... If we
no,
actually
$22 billion hole. No, we've got to kill everyone.
I mean, yeah, like there's a...
And that was a party political speech on behalf of Rachel Reeves.
I mean, we'll have to see what happens in the budget as to whether or not the UK public finances get in better shape. Because, of course, if Rachel Reeves doesn't find some way of raising tax, we'll end up with an £18 billion real terms cut in unprotected departments in the next budget. So she's got some holes to fill.
Yeah. Indeed so. And not in the way that previous Chancellors of the Exchequer had holes to fill. Just saying.
Hey.
Little shout out for Kieran there.
In their political parties. We need every party to be doing that, and we need it from the Conservative Party too. But it starts with making sure we get the right leadership, because as we all know, leaders matter, leaders count, and making sure we have the right leader changes the way our party will act.
Well, that's just very interesting. You're the first of your colleagues to admit that leaders matter. So let me try the same question with you. You served, or you're an MP under May...
Why is Mark Labette hovering just behind Trevor Phillips? Very strange.
Johnson, Truss, Sunak. Who do you most blame for these failures?
Well, look, it's a combination. I'm not looking at any of those individuals particularly. I'm looking at the whole party.
Well, you just told me leadership matters, and I'm just saying, which of these leaders made a mess of it? Well, made most of a mess of it.
Trevor, the truth is that each of them bear their own share of the responsibility. Each of them got things wrong. Each of them also had their successes. You know, I will always be proud of the way that Boris Johnson stood up against Putin in Ukraine. I'll always be impressed by the way he delivered the fastest vaccine rollout.
Well, talking about standing up to Russia, did you see Russia kind of... I'm going to count this secretly as a W for Britain, because we don't have a lot to shout about anymore, right? The Russian embassy in South Africa tweeted out a vicious slapdown. But it did contain the fantastic line. It was talking about David Lammy at the United Nations, having a go. The greatest colonial empire, Great Britain, somehow links Russia to enslaving people in Africa, and then goes through all of these different things, right? Notice that, people. Greatest. The greatest colonial empire ever. Take that,
even
world.
The Russians have to admit that we did it better than they did.
You can't.
I mean,
you all tried, and you all fucking failed to the top dog.
Yeah.
Boom.
At least when we did. When we did imperialism, we conquered people like that. Absolutely. We went after people who couldn't fight back with sharpened pineapples, and we took them over. It was easy peasy. Whereas one of literally the biggest country by landmass in the world, and one of the highest population counts in the world as well, can't even fight against a nation that isn't even a member of NATO and is having to survive on the leftovers from America, Germany, and Britain.
True.
And they can't even take they can go halfway through an oblast. That's how far they can get after 2 fucking years
True.
Almost 3 years, in fact, almost 3 years at this point.
Yeah.
And they can't even take piddly little Ukraine. Not even the entire Donbass they can take
Nope.
after all of this time as one of the great powers. Yeah, they, damn right we're the greatest imperial nation. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We made that we show so we can be evil. We can be evil bastards. At least we do it efficiently. At least we're successful.
The best at being evil, which, like I say, we don't have a lot to shout about anymore. So I reckon we take it, chalk it up in the W column and move on. Fact. Yeah, you're right, though. We used to take on people who didn't have anything. And you know what went wrong? Brown people started getting guns, and they could fight back. And we were a bit fucked at that point. What we need is to invent super guns that they don't have. Then we're back in the game. Just saying. Oh, yeah, I did see... Did you see Boris Johnson and his Dutch escapade thing?
I did see that, yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, Boris Johnson seems to have been governing like he might try and drunkenly plan a stag do. Like, just the most mental idea. So, during the COVID crisis, when he was technically Prime Minister, annoyingly, one of his plans was, and this is in a book he is about to release, so he wrote this. This isn't being claimed by somebody else. This is a thing he's written about his own time as Prime Minister. He wanted to send the Royal Marines by boat to the Netherlands, across the North Sea, right, to steal the COVID vaccines. So he went, yeah, you know what we do, lads? We get on the fucking ferry, right? We go over there and we steal all the drugs. Yeah! What the fuck is wrong with you? What? You're a fucking lunatic. Why was this guy ever Prime Minister? How? Oh, you know, he's a posh rich kid, obviously.
Prime Minister.
Like,
Oh my
just
God.
absolute fucking lunatic. He wanted to invade and steal from the Dutch factory, because apparently he thought that we had patents on it or something. But, like, it's theirs. What are you talking about? Also, why didn't someone explain this to him as well, right? We are in NATO. So are the Netherlands. If we attack the Netherlands, we make all of our NATO allies attack us.
Literally.
Because that's what
absolutely.
Article 5 is, you dopey cunt. We would literally have America up our arse straight away. What was he thinking? What the fuck was he thinking?
Again, it's just like they keep saying things like, "Oh well, we did this good vaccine rollout," and I'm just like, stop taking credit for Oxford University. They were the ones who developed the bloody vaccine.
Yeah, you put old people back in fucking in care homes, knowing they were going to get it. You went eat out to help out because literally we've got to kill people to make red line go up. That's what that was your contribution.
Voter base.
You literally had a Prime Minister, the very one I just mentioned, going on about the bodies piling high.
He shook hands with sick people.
Yeah.
After telling people to wash their hands and to try and avoid physical contact.
And after he'd already had it and nearly died, apparently.
Yes. And then the Chancellor decided to try and get people to mingle in restaurants, in these enclosed spaces, all sitting together at tables.
Genius. So that was your contribution. Thanks, lads. Really fucking epic. I wonder why we had so many people, such a higher rate of death in Britain than most other European nations. Crazy.
Exactly. Like you look at Asian countries who have the kind of similar level of population density to us, countries like South Korea, and I'm just like, yeah, they just did way better than we did in every single possible way.
Yeah. You know what? J-Beck brings a good point. As members of NATO, if we attacked the Netherlands, would we have to declare war on ourselves to defend the Netherlands? I think we'd be legally bound by our duty under the Article 5. Yeah. We'd have to declare war on ourselves.
It's true. But you know who had the really problematic foreign policy? It was Jeremy Corbyn wanting to have uphold things like international law.
John Blake
And no. The real person who was going to uphold like British geopolitical values was the man who plans to invade the Netherlands.
Now, I get that the Netherlands is flat enough that we could probably take them, but that's not the point. They're one of the few countries that's close enough and weak enough that we could probably have them, I reckon. Like, if you want to do like who wins in a fight, I reckon we take the Dutch. But that doesn't mean you should. That's a nice hypothetical on Twitch. It's not good fucking actual foreign policy for the government.
Out in the world. Both of those are huge achievements. Now, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're building on successes like that, building on the reality of delivery, rather than on, as you rightly cited, those errors that leaders...
Actually, I've just thought about it. Would you have a fractal NATO internal civil war? Because, right, bear with me. We invade the Netherlands, right? Which means the Dutch and everyone else has to declare war on us, which means we've been aggressed again. Which means they all have to individually declare war on each other, because they've also declared war on a NATO state. Which means they've then all individually declared war on other NATO states, which means every other NATO state. And it just goes on and on forever. It never stops. I think I just divided by 0, and I don't like it.
Have made over the last 4 years. I'm not here to litigate the past. That's the job of people like Anthony Seldon and historians. My job is to look to the future and to offer the country the leadership that we need to take us out of the place where we are and make sure we're delivering.
All right. You're probably, of the 4 candidates, the least well known to the public because you've had the shortest ministerial
Well,
career.
my career was to keep the king's secrets, and I did my job.
Indeed. What is it about you that the public and party members should know that would make them feel that you are ready for this role? That, you know, they've seen Cleverly in big jobs. They've seen Kemi Badenoch in good big jobs. Haven't seen you.
Did it again. Okay, at this point, it's beginning to feel a little bit like Jeremy Cunt. Like, you're doing this on purpose now, lads. Come on. It can only happen so many times before you realise exactly what's going on. Come on now. Come on.
What is it that you offer?
Well, you may not have seen the jobs, but that doesn't mean I haven't done them. Serving on operations overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan, I've been a soldier.
Oh, thanks. You killed so many brown people that didn't want you there. Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you. You really served this nation brilliantly. How did the Afghans react when we were there? Did they like everyone? Were they super on board with you doing all of that, Tom? Or not?
I've helped to rebuild governance in Afghanistan, in the National Security Council. And
how'd that work out? Is it going well? I haven't checked in 20 years. Is Afghanistan a beacon of hope and economic prosperity and democracy? Did we leave it in a good place? Or did literal fucking nutcases with sandals start taking over the place the second we left? Moving on.
in the government in Helmand, I've spent years serving the public in various different ways, including standing up against dictators, against tyrants, when I was chairing the Foreign Affairs Committee. And as you know, that got me sanctioned by China, by Russia, and by Iran, a country that is now threatening us again. And I've been warning clearly.
How many times is this prick going to mention Iran?
For years, that the alliance of tyrants and dictatorships that we've seen growing over recent years is a direct threat.
But none of this explains how you would deal with the delivery problem that you've already talked about. Government didn't deliver. What tells us that you would do any better?
Well, the way I deliver is by leading. And frankly, what we've seen in recent years is an absence of
Policy?
leadership. Now,
absolute meaningless guff. I would deliver by leading.
You know who Tom Tugendhat is, right? Do you know what Tom Tugendhat is? It's Keir Starmer. He's just Keir Starmer. He's the same politician. If instead of I was head of the Crown Prosecution Service, it's I was in the army.
Yeah.
Instead of I'm going to be the change and bring about, and that's how I'll change the country, meaningless guff. It's I'm going to be the person who wins by leading, and I'm going to be a good leader by leading and leading things. Like, you're just meaningless guff. Yeah. This is meaningless nonsense. This is just words. You're saying words.
Pablum, yeah.
Yeah, Pablum.
That I've had in the roles that I've performed over the last 25 years of public service to this country, in uniform and out. I have always offered leadership. I've always offered that direction, that example that we need to follow.
Tell you what. He sounds like somebody trying to oversell themselves at an interview for a very entry-level office job.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So what experience do you have in working as a team? Well, actually, when I was in Helmand province...
Yeah. We had to work as a team to negotiate UEDs all the time. But also, I found that I could work individually on my own initiative as well. You know, like, it's one of those people, yeah. Like, we need you to make tea and empty the fucking copier machine. Like, that's it. like, chill.
It's Mark
Oh,
Corrigan vibes.
Yeah, it is.
how we achieve the results that this country needs. Because the truth is, this is a dangerous world. There are real threats out there, and there are real reforms we need to see. That's why I'm standing for leadership of this country, because this country matters.
OK, let me ask you this last question, which is really about character. And this is not, in a way, a personal question. It is the...
Oh, well, if history is to go by, this is going to be the most personal question ever.
Roast him, Trev.
What's
Do it.
the
Go.
circumference of your foreskin? Like, it's going to be off the charts personal. Because
Well,
that's...
actually,
Go on.
but actually, before we move on, Ben Char makes a really good point in chat, which is that if Tom Tugendhat does become leader, and there's probably the best reason for him to become leader, is that we can literally fill his replies on social media with the "fuck off clean shirt" gif.
Yes. Fuck off, clean shirt.
He is the cleanest shirt. How does he get that shirt so clean?
It's the most annoyingly sarcastic performance ever. I love it. I hope that kid is still acting, doing things. I don't know. Because they're probably fucking 30 now. Oh, God.
A political question.
Anyway, his economic policy is going to be following the business secrets of the pharaohs. Let's go.
But Cameron, Etonian. Johnson, Etonian. Sunak, Wickham-ist. Tugendhat, St Paul's. Does the Conservative Party really need another posh boy leader from a great public school?
I told you it was going to be fucking personal.
Savage, roasted.
But also,
I mean,
fair point.
true.
Fair point, yeah.
It's true.
By the way, again, if you don't speak posh, Wickham-ist means attended Winchester College. That's what that means, in case you weren't posh enough to know that. Or fucking having known posh people who went there. I went to college with a guy who was a Wickham-ist. He had the tie and everything, the cunt. He was all right, anyway.
I mean, I used to play Magic with a guy who went to Winchester College. I went to his wedding in Winchester College, actually.
Oh, lovely.
It was a very, it was a very, very posh wedding. I stuffed my pockets with as much food as possible, as you would, of course. But it was good fun, and he was a nice guy. But of course, he was very posh.
Hang on, there was a thing on Facebook, just to tell you the kind of, I don't know, differential or whatever between, I don't know, either you or me or whatever, I don't know. There was someone linked me in a meme, which was like the most Brummy thing ever. Oh, here we go. Right, so it's on the Facebooks. So someone linked me to this. I don't have a particularly strong Brummy accent, but I think they knew I'd find this funny. So they saw this tray of like ordinary looking sandwiches, just, and someone said, someone behind me in the thickest Midlands accent I've ever heard just said, "Oh, Jesus, this is a bit too fancy for me now." Jesus Christ. Like, the most basic sarnies, and they're like, no, that's too much. No, I've got to go sit there. God, this place, man. Fucking hell. Oh, sorry.
I think the Conservative Party needs a
go
leader
on.
who can lead, and you can judge.
Andy's saying it's UK speak for private schools, calling it a public school. Well, not technically. The public schools are a very specific brand of private school.
Yes.
They're a very specific clique and historical part, the cloistered buildings of old. There are plenty of private schools, like independent schools in the country, that are just referred to as private schools, but the public schools are a specific type of paid school that have got a long history as being having a dynasty associated with them.
Yeah, like literally, I mean, you just went through the Eton prime ministers this century, let alone literally virtually all of them before. If you went to Eton, you're basically told from when you're 5 that you're going to become prime minister or foreign secretary or business leader, and you will. Yeah, that's just the way it goes.
So the big ones like Winchester, there's Eton, there's like Haberdasherask, I think is a big one as well.
Yeah, there's Phemes in Scotland, which is like known as the Scottish Etons, where Tony Blair went. There are various of these places around, and then they filter through Oxford or Cambridge, sometimes maybe St Andrews in Scotland, something like that.
And when they go to Oxford, they all join the union, like not the Students' Union, the Oxford Union, which is a posh place where all of the future prime ministers go, and not just the future prime ministers of this country either. Benazir Bhutto was the president of Oxford Union.
Yeah, literally, when Pakistan was literally invented as a concept in someone's house in London. That didn't exist before, and they went, "Oh, we'll just create a new place where the Muslims can live." So there's all that sort of thing, and literally, like every person who's rich or posh goes to one of these schools from around the world. Kings and queens and stuff of like petrostates go to these schools. Actually, even Kim Jong-un was educated at a posh school in Switzerland. Did you know?
Yeah.
Which is how he got to learn about Dennis Rodman, the basketball player, growing up in the 90s, because he could see Western TV.
A lot of 20th century revolutionaries apparently all studied in France for some reason.
Well, actually, talking of, I suppose, revolutionaries of a sort, George Orwell was educated at Eton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Born in India as well. Part of the colonials and all that. Anyway, the point is, it goes beyond just a fee-paying school and becomes this otherworldly fucking thing. I've mixed with a lot of these people at college, and it was they are from a completely different world of existence.
Oh my god, there's one thing that I liked about actually going to a pretty good uni, but going to uni up north, like really up north, is the public school kids just were not there.
Yeah.
Going to Lancaster, which I think is it's pretty high up some of the
league that's not a bad school,
especially for science, which is what I went for. I had a pretty good science department, and it's in a lovely area. Like Lancaster's beautiful. It was really nice to go that far north, but all of the posh kids from the public schools would never be seen that far north, so I avoided all of them. It was great.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, actually, they are a bit like the Ivy League schools in North America. In fact, many of them do go over and study in like Harvard or Yale or Penn or Brown or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because basically America's got all the money now, so like a lot of them will gravitate in that direction. Like, was it David Lammy, I think, went to Harvard or something?
He did go to Harvard, yeah. Yeah, but he went to a state school, I believe.
Yeah, oh no, I've just meant like more broadly, people of power and prestige tend to go to those sorts of places as well.
And for like Americans and Canadians and foreign people watching, or non-UK people watching, it's like, this is why I think that you're seeing a lot of real kind of like British the people's kind of distaste for Britain kind of really kind of compounding, and watching people just kind of really react to the state of the country is that there's like a proud heritage. I'm not proud of public school heritage, but lots of people in the country are proud of the long history that our country has associated with it, and the degrading of our state on global scale and domestically as well has really kind of really made people really reactionary to the mythical past that existed. But it's not even that mythical. We were a great country. We were huge. We had an empire, right?
Well, I think we talked about this on Thursday, didn't we? About conservatives of yore genuinely believing in that social structure. They believed that it was best, like that Eton created the best leaders. Eton created great prime ministers, not that they just, were born to become prime minister, regardless of how good they were or weren't. And that was good for the country, that made the country a better place. They were wrong, but there was a principle behind it. They understood that there was a structure to society and the economy, and that's how it was.
Very Burkean.
Very, very much so. Whereas modern conservatism isn't even that. Like, they would happily, if they thought they could make a quick buck, they would grind Eton into fucking rubble.
They just fucking
don't
off
care.
royal buildings.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what like a good British patriot might think if they know that in the sake of neoliberalism, the Conservative Party were flogging off bits of our monarchic history, state assets, and flogging off to the private sector.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I reckon they should open up Buckingham Palace as the world's largest Greggs.
100%. No, it's a pub. It should be a pub. You need to have a pint at the palace. That's what you want.
And it's got so many staircases, it would have to be a Spoons. Like, you'd imagine trying to get from the West Wing for a piss. Jesus Christ. Anyway. Yeah. I'll definitely go for Curry Tuesdays at the Palace. Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Judge me on the decisions my parents made 35 years ago, or you can judge me on the decisions I've made for the last 35 years. I think the decisions I've made for the last 35 years...
No, it's not. No, dickhead. It's not about your parents deciding to send you to a school. It's the advantages you've had from that and the fact that you don't relate to people in the ordinary world. That's the point.
As we have seen.
Yeah.
As we have seen from the fact that he can't even understand why they lost. Of course, like posho public school boy, never had a real job in his life, never known any amount of stress or difficulty.
Time out. I will say, stress, I think, is a different thing. I think when he was in the army, there probably were pretty stressful situations.
True,
but hardship, that you didn't
Yeah.
put yourself into purposefully.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he's
Like,
never
he's
known
never
that.
known.
No, he's
Yeah,
never
exactly.
known
He's
that.
never known.
Yeah.
He's never been somebody who's ever been financially uncomfortable. So he can't empathise. He can't empathise, right? Remember when Ian Dale on LBC was like, I thought it would be fine to close all of the ticket offices at the railway station, and then I became disabled.
Yeah.
And immediately I changed my mind, and I'm just like, yeah, exactly. Conservatism, in its essence, is only thinking problems are problems if they affect you personally. That's it. That's all it is.
Absolutely. Literally, it's if it doesn't affect me, I don't care. Like, I genuinely think, like, the global warming thing is brilliant. They're like, well, we won't be affected that much by it. Motherfucker, where do you think the people from Polynesia are going to go? They're going to go to places that aren't fucking flooded anymore. And you want less immigrants, don't you? Like, the idea that we personally won't or don't get affected by these things is fucking silly. Why is my father texting me at this hour? The fucking bell piece. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Thankfully, he can't work a TV, so he doesn't, or work a computer, so he doesn't know that I say these things. Although I say it to his face anyway, but yeah.
Demonstrate the character that you're looking at.
He doesn't know the story I told everyone about him in the hospital, showing himself. Jesus Christ. He'd go mad if I knew that I'd told that one.
I have chosen consistently to serve our country. I put myself on the front line in Iraq and Afghanistan. I was injured in Iraq and I fought in Afghanistan. And these are decisions that I took. These are decisions I took to stand up and serve our country and to put myself at risk to do it. Now, I've done that consistently. I've done it for 25 years. And putting myself on the front line means that I have been sanctioned by China, I've been sanctioned by Russia, I've been sanctioned by Iran, and I've been threatened by all three. But I will never, ever go silent. This country matters too much. It matters too much to me. It matters too much to the whole world. We need to stand up for Britain, and I'm offering the leadership that will make a difference.
Tom, to
Jay King in chat saying his hairline looks stressed. That's mean, but also yes.
thank you very much for your time.
Well, he's
this morning.
wealthy
Thanks,
enough. He
Trevor.
can afford finasteride.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, following the killing of the Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah in an Israeli airstrike on Beirut,
So
we've
I will
got
say
continuing
one thing,
coverage.
unfortunately, is we have been going for 3 hours and it's now midnight. Do you want to do Bobby J tomorrow? Do you want to do him on Laura Koonsberg? It's a bit of a longer one for Bobby J. And I think we're going to have a real
Well,
cross-examination of him.
I'm with Christy tomorrow, but we can do it before if you want to go slightly
I was going to
earlier.
do an afternoon stream anyway, so if you're not busy in the day.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I can pop on in the afternoon. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
100%. But I've been up since like 7 a.m. this morning, so I am pretty shattered. So I wanted to call it there and then get back to tomorrow after 3 hours and now midnight. So
Yeah, here, just as an addendum to the point we were making there before we leave, the list of UK Prime Ministers by university. Oxford, 31. Cambridge, 14. If you add up the rest, it's what, 20? Combined? For all of the other, Edinburgh, Glasgow, only 8 didn't go to university at all.
wow, Jesus,
8. There you go.
brilliant.
Fantastic. Absolutely wonderful stuff.
Hey ho.
Anyway, so that's
Everyone
sort of
go follow Kevin Logan on my end.
Yeah, everyone go and follow No Justice MTG, who does proper...
It's KF Logan 1875 over on Twitch and Ploppy 111 over on YouTube.
It is indeed, yes. Apologies that I was sort of eating through a lot of this as well.
No worries. I tell you what, should we raid into Mooncat?
Yes, Moonacat is fucking
Should we-
awesome.
Should we farm some clout?
Let's farm some clout, but also sending people to a good person.
Absolutely. Make sure you spam the emotes to let everyone know how cool our emotes are.
Yes, and tell everyone that we're awesome and that you should follow us.
I think Mooncat will appreciate the 80k guy emote if you want to spam that one. Anyway, take care, stay safe,
Yes.
everybody. I will see you all tomorrow with Kevin.
Yes.
In the afternoon.
See you later. Pip pip.
Take care. Bye bye.